Welcome back to another episode of YAP2ASIA. We're your yappers. I'm Sleepy here with blackenBlue. Hey, I'm Quack and Paperthin. And of course, the one and only Mr. Valor2Asia, Mr. Juandi. Say hello, Juandi.
Hi.
I just
Hello,
wanted to
Juan.
put him on the spot like that.
Amazing.
That's
Well
amazing.
done.
Well done. All right, guys. So this is gonna be a very hot one, I feel, because as you know, this past few weeks, a month, have been an insane ride. Post Ascension, post Champions, and also post Game Changers Championship. There's a lot to unpack here, and I cannot wait to show you who we're gonna have on board today. But before that, maybe let's catch up a bit, guys. What's been up for you guys so
No,
far?
just finished casting. No big.
All right.
It's been very busy.
My voice is
Yeah,
okay.
man. Busy dude. Tell us a bit about it, Quack, please.
I don't know. Like just straight casting for almost like a week and a half nonstop. Maybe lost my voice, got it back. I'm okay. I'm still alive.
Nice.
That's about
Yeah,
it.
we need that. We need that for this. So thank you for taking care of that.
Took care of my voice.
Okay. You're still in Thailand, I believe.
Yes, still in Thailand. Staying with my
Nice.
girlfriend.
Enjoy,
Thank
sir.
you.
I like that. All right. What's been up for you two, blackenBlue?
Just been chilling, living in the woods.
Yeah.
Writing stuff as usual. Obviously, watching the games and watching my
Yes.
man Quack here cast not one but two back-to-back events with no
Yeah,
rest.
dude.
Lovely to
Insane.
see.
Lovely. And you,
living
Paperthin.
that real esports life. It's been a little bit quiet for me. I've had some random stuff here and there. I gotta go to Thailand myself. I can't say exactly what it's for yet, but pretty
Okay.
soon here.
Nice.
So I got a few things on the boilerplate I can't announce yet, but we're getting there. But yeah, mostly I've been chilling. I'm gonna do a little vacation here in Korea next week. Just go see the fall leaves. Like it's really beautiful in Korea this time of year. The weather's perfect. It's like the leaves are changing colors. So I'm gonna go out in the mountains and enjoy a little scenery. Yeah,
Living the life, man. Clint.
yeah, man.
Damn.
How's
I'm
Jakarta?
jealous.
How's Jakarta, Jundi, and
I'm
Sleepy?
glad you asked. Well, Jakarta is Jakarta. We can't really see the skyline. If you, I don't know if you can see out the windows. I don't think you can, but there's nothing to see. So Jakarta is Jakarta. Just traffic here and there. Just living the boring life of staying home because you don't want to get your lungs contaminated. So yeah, I've just been here, literally, just on my desk in front of my PC, just thinking about what we're going to talk about today. And speaking of, we have a lot of topics to go through, or rather, we have a few topics that will be each very deep. We're going to go into. So we have obviously post Ascension. We're going to talk about that. That's a lot of plot twists and events. That's actually evolved across the past 2 to 3 weeks. We're going to talk a bit about Game Changers, obviously, with Xipto winning. And then we're going to talk about the hot stuff, the Rostermania, the moves, the people that are joining and exiting, and some of the names and things that we hear about in the past few weeks, which some of it we might not be able to talk about. It is wild. It still is going to be wild, I feel, in the next
We're not done.
few months. We're not even close to done, right? And I just can't wait to talk about it. So maybe we can start with some, I guess, some of the things that we are excited about in the past few weeks before we dive deeper and while we're waiting for our guest to come on board. What do you guys think?
I mean,
What are we looking forward to?
what am I looking forward to? I mean, everything, but it's like there's so much. It's hard to unpack because there's so much going on with the players and like the teams, and there's so much to talk about with our guest about a lot of this as well. So it's like,
Yeah.
I think for me with the Korean teams, there's so much movement with the players and stuff. So I know we'll get into that later, but that's why I've been hearing a lot of rumors and stuff. Some of it came true, some of it didn't. But I was not surprised by the amount of traffic, let's put it that way, that there was with the Korean teams. I was very much expecting that. Some of the moves I did not expect. Some of the moves I was maybe a little bit bamboozled by some of the info I was getting, but it was still basically in line with the level of chaos.
I'm at least just kind of hoping for at least one team to like stick together. Paper X.
Yeah.
Just stay together. I don't know. Maybe try to work on some stuff.
Well, they re-signed the coach, so that's
yes, they did.
Step one.
They did. That's step one. And I cannot give further comments, unfortunately. I'm sorry. I'm risking my my butt here.
Desk stocks everywhere are just skyrocketing because so many desks are going to be destroyed. Like, I love you, my desk. You're great. Alex does not feel the same way, so that's the best part, right? Like, you know,
I can already see Riot looking for a cheaper supplier for those desks. Like, we need one for this year, 2025. Something replaceable.
Ladies and gents, we have the talk of the town today, Mr. Gary Natshuba Ongko, CEO, founder of BOOM Esports, who just recently found one of the best news that he could have gotten probably in his whole life. And I can see, and you guys can see from his smile, that it does mean something. So we're going to talk a lot about that today with him. But first, I just wanted to maybe give you the opportunity to maybe introduce yourself a little bit. And I guess we can get into a bit of your background in esports, which I know is very vast. So maybe we start simple. Who are you? What do you do? And how are you feeling today?
Feeling really good. Being a big roller coaster of emotions, I guess, the last 2 weeks. But yeah, really happy.
Nice. So obviously, the news is that last week we got info that BOOM Esports have been promoted to VCT Pacific 2025. Congratulations. I know it's been a crazy ride. And even back in Ascension, it was such a wild event through and through. And I guess before we get into that, I just wanted to hear from you. What was it like for you in this past 3 to 4 years getting into Valorant? How has it been, and how did it lead up to this year with whatever's happened so far?
Yeah, I think we had a team from the very beginning of Valorant, right? We picked up the was it Boy with Love? I think that was the
Yes.
Adrian King, Blaze King, the old CS Indonesian stack. And I think we were relatively we had like pretty good success. We were always like top 4 in Southeast Asia. We used to have our own region back in the day before we became APAC with all the Koreans and
Yeah.
all those people came. And then I think the peak was probably 2 years ago where we did go to champions. Um, and then after that, obviously the whole partnership thing kind of started. We were unfortunately not picked, and we had to rebuild, which led to last year's Ascension, and then we failed short the semis against the eventual winners, which was Bleed. And then this year we fell short again, very close, but we fell short. So then we were like really disappointed. Obviously, a lot of our players kind of like went up to T1 already, like from iterations of last year or even from champions, right? Like I remember other champions, we lost Flip and Teboto or Xpero. Nowadays he's known. And then after that, we lost Blaze King last year, I think, right? Um, and then this year it was probably gonna be something similar. Had this gift from the Riot gods did not come. So yeah, I think that's like to put in a TLDR format.
Okay. I like that. Okay. Crazy. So
Crazy.
it has been a long ride, and maybe before we try and get deeper into this, which I know you guys have been waiting for, I just wanted to ask this one question. How did you make that transition from CS to Valorant? And now that you're in Valorant, maybe you see, like, you've been here for a while now, so maybe you've seen some differences between the two titles. I don't know, in terms of selecting players or building your roster. Was there any significant differences you feel?
Yeah, I think in the beginning, naturally, because it's a it's a first-person shooter at the end of the day. The CS pros were going to kind of like take over the early Valorant days. But then you look like nowadays, it's like the new generation of like
Yeah.
actual
The
kids that
naturals.
like they grew up on Valorant, right? And at the end of the day, I think it's two very different games. You'll notice like a lot of the old CS pros, they'd be like spraying and or aiming at the body and kind of like taking it from there. And then you see the new gen Valorant guys are all just one tap gods. So not sure there will be that transition, right? And it's hard because obviously the old CS:GO pros, like they spent like what 5, 10 years in doing that,
Yeah.
right? So it's gonna be really hard for them to adjust to like the new style of game. I remember when I first played Valorant, it was really hard, like movement wise. And I would like, it's just really different.
It's
You
different.
don't
Yeah.
crouch in CS. You're crouching and spraying, and here in Valorant you don't crouch. So just kind of everything is a hard adjustment. So yeah, I think nowadays you look definitely like it'll be a harder transition for the old CS pros to go to Valorant. Whereas before, obviously in the beginning of the game, they had the experience and the aim to kind of take over the Valorant world there.
Nice.
Makes sense.
Okay.
Actually, I have a question.
Mhm.
Obviously, I've never actually. I don't think I've gotten to meet you in person before, Gary. But you guys have been around for a long time. But I want to know about like what it was like during that transition period. Like I think a lot of people would really like to hear from you and your team's perspective. Like you come up just short at the end of Ascension, and then not too long after that, you get the news that you're being offered this spot. Like, can you walk us through like that day to day? Because that has to be so emotional for you guys.
Yeah.
And I mean, like to put it mildly, right? And I mean, I think us and the fans would really like to get to know like your team and your kind of like personality behind the scenes and like what that was like for you.
Yeah, obviously leading to the finals, like many people said, SPG were the overwhelming favorites. Um, Personally, I always thought that we do much better in the grand final. Like we did have a shot. The home crowd advantage was definitely real. SPG were also, they relatively had newer players that weren't like accustomed to LAN, like LAN environment. Um, and obviously, we have a pretty good track record at rematches, right? So that was like kind of, I was like, hey guys, and then we did change things up, right? Like we brought Cypher to every single map except for Icebox. So we knew like we had a fighting chance. Then when the loss happened, we were all very emo, like literally leading up to the news of Riot, which again I only knew 2 hours beforehand. So it
Damn.
wasn't like something that I knew way in advance. It was like I got a call in the morning and they were like, we're gonna announce it like in a couple of hours. So just kind of sit tight.
Damn.
Um,
Jeez.
so leading up, so that was Friday, right? So for 5 days, we didn't have any team talk. We didn't have anything. The only thing we had was like we said. I told like the team like, hey guys, look, it's the end of the season. Let's have like dinner before everyone goes back to wherever
Right.
they go, right? Because they're not all from Jakarta.
Yeah.
That was it. So we set that up for Tuesday, this week. So like 5 days after the news. But yeah, we weren't talking much. Every day you open social media, you see a new meme.
Yep.
Um,
Son's
you
voice
know,
just playing over and over.
exactly. Yes,
Apakah ada waktu? Is there time? No
yes.
time.
It became a freaking image, right?
Yeah.
It became like a JPEG, like people just posting it. People made like T-shirts of the diffuse
The
timer.
diffuse timer. Yeah.
Um,
No.
it was like, it was just like every day, right? It's like Monday, of course, we were really sad. Then Tuesday is like, okay, we're coping better. Then, oh, damn it, I regret opening social media.
Right.
Then Wednesday, just something new comes up. Thursday, and then luckily on Friday, like the news came, and honestly, none of us like expected it.
Hmm.
Like I said previously, the whole like keep your roster kind of thing, like it was even last year. Even though we were fourth last year, like they did say that, like, hey, just in case, bleed or bars or whatever don't pass inspection, like there's a chance for you guys. So
Wow.
they were like, just keep your roster for like a week or two. So they kind of said the same thing this time. So I told the players the same thing, but we really had no idea. And then obviously the whole aspas thing was, I guess, true.
Mm,
So honestly, it's all shocker, right? Like,
yeah.
what's going on? Yeah.
Damn.
Well,
Okay.
yeah. Well, I do have a question for you, actually, Gary. I
Mhm.
don't believe I've met you yet either, but I can definitely attest that I know when Boom Esports is in the house for sure, because you
Yes.
guys are very energetic, to say the very least, whenever I do see you guys. But what I do have to ask is, I remember casting you guys back in the day, even in CS. I think you guys were called Boom ID back then, right? You
Yeah.
weren't even
Yes.
Boom Esports, and then you also even had Mind Freak in like 2017,
Jason.
if I'm
Yes. And
not mistaken,
Forsaken.
right? And one thing that's
Yeah.
always stood out to me from the start of Valorant, and I'm talking to the other VCTC talents, is like you guys kept on picking up great players over and over and over again. It seems like your kind of scouting process has always been above some of the other teams in the region, because I mean, to be fair, when we're looking at things, Thailand, many great players too, but I would put Indonesia just right there neck and neck in terms of SEA, how many tier 1 capable players they are. I think Indonesia is at the top right there as well. And you guys have always picked great players, and this year again you did so. You add ZESP to the team, right? You had multiple different guys. You had NC Slasher, who's been there for quite a while. How is your scouting process, I guess, so good? What's your process, and is that just you, or do you guys have like a whole team doing that?
Um, it's mostly just me and my GM, which is Ojan. And Ojan's been with me from the very beginning, so he's been with me for 8 years. I think a lot of it is just kind of having good um, like network. So when we talk to players from other teams or even managers or coaches, we kind of like take all of that into account. I think at the end of the day, the biggest criteria for us is like the hunger and the drive to be good, because I think every like Immortal 3, you don't even have to be a Radiant. You're gonna pop heads, right? So then what's gonna make you take it to the next step? And that's gonna be, you're really willing to love the game more than your girlfriends, more than your like you gotta be married to the game, right?
Yeah.
And like it sounds easy, but it really isn't, right?
True,
And to
man.
have that on a consistent level is really hard, right? Like you can do it maybe a year, maybe two, but like 3, 4 years of like consistent grinding is pretty hard. So that's kind of what we look for, right? So if you look at for example, like Jason, I had him when he was 14, and like that's all he wanted to
Yeah.
do.
Yeah.
All he wanted to do was play a game in his free time. Like he didn't want to play football. He didn't want to go to the mall. He just wanted to play CS at the time. So we were like, yo, this guy is gonna be. I mean, I always thought he was gonna be greater than his brother and Bintat at the time, which was the comparison, right?
Yeah.
I mean, he was 14, man. He was so sick back in the day.
But yeah, I remember like seeing this dude or as a like face it ranked demon back in the day. People were like, "Who is this
Yeah.
kid?" Right, from Indonesia.
A literal
I must.
kid.
Look at his face.
Oh my God, he's a
Baby face.
baby.
Like some people know this story. I don't know if it's like publicly known, but so when I came back from the US, I was still playing like CS:GO like competitively.
Mhm.
Mm.
So I was in a team with Jason. I was in a team with Jason. Then I remember like we went to like a LAN event, and like he carried me. He carried me so hard. He was playing drop zone in cobblestone. We went against the fourth best team in Indonesia, and he dropped like 28 or 30 kills. And the craziest thing was like he was wearing like Cyber Cafe's mouse pad. It was like ripped Bantex. He had like this like it's not even like a professional gaming mouse. It was like one of those laser mouse where like if you flick it goes back to the original
Oh
like
shit.
like like
Oh,
like you can't flick it.
oh,
And he was
Those
doing that.
office
And
mice.
then
Yeah.
literally after that tournament, I was like, yo, Jason, listen, like I'm retiring because like with people like you, like there's no point for me competing in this game anymore. Like and yeah, that was kind of the beginning of everything, I guess. That's how Boom
Damn.
started, to be honest. Yeah, he retired me.
So okay. So
He demoted me to
Forsaken did
owner
everything.
instead of player.
Damn.
Nah, dude, I
Okay.
remember totally hearing about Forsaken like what 2017-ish. People were talking about you. There's this kid, I think he's like 13, 14. All you need to know, he's xccurate's younger brother, and he's gonna ham it up when he does come of age. And I mean, I
well,
think everybody is proven right.
Yeah.
now we're hearing about his younger. Now we're hearing about the other younger
The
brother.
Jojo.
third.
Yeah, yeah,
Oh,
Jojo
yeah.
He's
The
Susanto.
younger
third,
than
yeah,
most.
Jojo.
Yeah, I think he's like what? He's like Immortal 1 and he's like 8.
Yeah. Yeah. No,
I don't even think he's like.
he
How
used
old
to
is he?
jump on Jason's stream to play on
Yeah,
Radiant ranked, and he kept on fragging like it's
yeah.
nothing as an
How old is
8-year
he?
old.
Is he 10? I don't
He's
even.
like 8 or 9, I think.
I don't even think
At
he's
this
10.
moment,
It's wild.
he's not even
Oh
10.
my
I don't
God,
think
dude.
so. Holy. Okay. So as a follow up to that question from BNB, um, you've been through a lot of roster changes, and you've seen a lot of players go in and out. And I guess I just wanted to pull it back to what happened this year. This is the furthest you've been, right? In terms of
Yep.
performance, Ascension Grand Finals, obviously almost taking the whole W, but fell short a little bit. What was the main difference you think from the previous years that made it like as successful as it is today in 2024? Did something stood out to you that made your team perform the best this year as opposed to the previous years?
Yeah, I think the players obviously also improved and matured a lot. Fikri, Famous, Berserks,
Famous.
and Zero is with me for 2 years. Three actually. And then obviously we've went through the hardships of last year, like kind of learned from that loss. And then the core is intact. So like and Hyung Meow was with me
Yeah.
also for like 4 years, I think now. So like the whole, like in terms of like game plan and all that stuff is like it's still there. We didn't have to like really restart or whatnot. Because previously like the leader would have been like Blaze King, Dustin, like
Yeah.
the older ones, right? And then but then this year we kind of kept most of the core. And then Tactile was also he was part of Boom like I think 2 years ago.
NC
So he's also
Slasher. Yeah.
familiar with how we wanted to play or how Meow wanted to play, right? So I think in that sense, like we kind of just it was easier fit for everyone.
Mm.
And then Zesby came split too, pretty because he didn't play with the split one, right? We played with Booty.
Yeah.
And he brought a lot of like experience and I think just kind of a mixture of everything led to the home crowd. To be honest, I don't think we would have been able to do that if it wasn't in Britama area. Um, not necessarily to like buff us. I think it's more to like demotivate the enemies. You
That's
really
what
have
it
to hold
was.
them off, and like people are screaming at you and
Yeah.
all that
Yeah.
stuff. So that definitely helped. But yeah,
Okay.
that is the
It's
answer.
sounding like it's less about like trying to get the best talent. Obviously, the talent in BOOM Esports, they're like top of the crop here in Indonesia. There's no question about it. But it feels like from what you're sharing, it's also important to have that chemistry built up over like a
Yep,
couple of years. The core sticking together for
yep.
so long. Um, do you do you mean like when you look at these other teams? Let's say now you're in Pacific, so you have to look at these other teams in Pacific. They're like swapping out players like it's batteries, right? Like they do it so often, and it feels like they don't try to have the core stick together for too long. Do you think that's a right move?
I think it depends on how their result was last year, right? Because from the way we looked at it, like we thought we should have beat Bleed. So
Mm.
we probably should have won already last year. So it wasn't like we were
Okay.
outclassed, right?
Right, right,
Obviously, if
right.
you're like like you knew that you were never gonna win with whatever core you had, then you kind of have to do a big
Mm.
reshuffle and whatnot. But again, with every change, even if it's just one player, right? It's like there's so much work to be done to like get everyone on the same page. Because you're so used to like each other's habits, each other's type of calling and all that stuff. So it's gonna be really hard to rebuild that in such a short amount of time. Um, and then if you're gonna change like three, four, or five, then the whole identity, like you really gotta like, you know, figure things out, right? Because what works for I'm sure like every team has their own thing, right? Like you can't
Yeah.
just like suddenly play like Fnatic or Paper X, for example, is like a great example. They have like their own style that like many people want to copy, but
Emulated.
it's
Yeah.
literally like you needed all those five unique players, right? And their mentality and how they see the game for it to work. If you don't think that way, you can't do it, right?
Yeah.
Um, or vice versa, like a structured team. So let's say you have like Koreans are very structured, right? You try put the paper X in that format, they're probably gonna struggle.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I think that's how it's like match and fit. Um, in that sense, like you need the chemistry in and out of the game. Yeah.
Okay. Speaking of swapping out players, you have put out some announcements this past
Mhm.
week, and you are swapping out, as far as we know, at least one player.
Mhm.
So how is that process moving along, sir? Like, are you finding the right fit for your core team already, or is that still ongoing?
We're still finding. They're doing trials in 19 minutes, 3 p.m.
Oh shit!
Jakarta time. So
Can we watch?
yeah, we don't have
Can we sit in?
Can we
oh,
watch?
but I could technically just join Discord and show you guys the live stream. But
Yeah. Okay.
um yeah, maybe at the end of this episode I can give like a bit of a sneak peek. But no, we haven't set on it. We obviously have a short list. And how the whole thing came about was because we did lose the Ascension finals, and then we had like a team talk. We were just like, "Hey guys, like, do consider running it back because we were very close, and obviously, if you guys have T1 offers and whatnot, I would respect your wishes. But if we do run it back, um, what are we gonna do?" And then the answer in that conversation was these changes. So then we got the news, and then the question came up again, and then I was like, "Hey, now that we got the slot, like, should we just kind of stick together and whatnot, all that stuff?" Then at the end of the day, I made the decision that look, if we're gonna play split three and make changes, like assuming everybody wanted
Right.
to stay and we were gonna change for split three, how do we not make the change in Pacific? Like it
Tier
doesn't make
one. Yeah. Yeah.
like
Yeah.
logically it doesn't make sense, right? Because that'd be making a decision with feelings, not with
Yeah.
logic. So I was like, I think we got to make the change, and it was a tough decision. Obviously, especially for Hyung, like without disrespecting Xiao, but Hyung was with me for a long time, right? But yeah, we made that decision, and we're looking for a new fit.
I think everybody can appreciate the fact that you own up to it and you were saying that like it's my decision. It was my decision to make it. And I mean, I think Clint, you had a question, but if you don't mind, I wanted to ask
Yeah.
something
No,
real
go ahead.
quick, like
Go ahead. Go ahead.
because you guys have talked about this whole kind of re-rostering process and stuff, and you even talked about how other teams kind of build their team around a specific idea, like how Paper Rex have a certain style. What's the Boom Esports style? Because you guys have been in it for a while. I think almost every year we've had you guys during VCT SCA, we're asking like, is it the year for Boom Esports? Is it this year, 21, 22, 23, all the way till now? But you guys are in honestly a very unique position coming into this Pacific. So I want to ask you, since you talked about other team style, what is the Boom Esports style?
I think I'm a noob, so I'm probably not the best guy to answer that. You have to ask like the coaching staff or the players, but from what I see at least, we try to play like a more structured style. Obviously, Hyung is Korean, so we take a lot of ideas from him. But at the same time, if we have to like really do um, I guess like brainless plays, we can do that. That's like the full Indo mode. That's kind of what we did against SPG. It was just like, guys, look, let's just swing, take the aim battles, and like like go a bit, like don't think too much, just out aim them, swing them, just swing together kind of thing. So yeah, and I think at the end of the day, we wouldn't say we'd have like a certain style, but I know that my players are able to adapt, and I think Ascension Finals was like a great way to show that, right? We got literally smacked so hard the first time we met them, and then we could put up a fight in the grand finals.
If I may add, you
Mhm.
have smacked us before. Just to share, I don't know if you know, but I want to add that you've made me cry, Mr. Gary, once in the past when you
Also,
eliminated us from VCT SEA.
No.
SBE.
South Built
South Built
Esports.
Esports.
what team?
South
South
Built
Built.
Esports from the
Ah,
Philippines.
SBE. Okay,
Yeah.
Yeah,
yeah, yeah,
yeah. This guy was in the coaching staff for SB,
I
so he
mean,
cried
yeah,
because
I
of
made
you
I
once.
made 7 other teams cry, I guess.
Yeah,
One team won
that you did.
the tournament. I made a champion, so
Yep.
I made Onyx cry.
Yes.
I made
No,
Blue
you
cry.
disbanded them, dude. You disbanded Onyx.
Disbanded on it.
Yeah.
I technically disbanded RRQ too because they disbanded their fellow, your countrymen.
Yes.
So I'm
Yeah.
sorry for
Yeah.
that too.
Okay.
So,
Clint, you had a question?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm actually kind of curious about the process of now you're qualified for Pacific. Like, what does it look like for you guys as an org? Like, what is the struggles and the process of, now going to a bigger region? Like, what does the foundations look like? Like, how are you going to build that out? Obviously you got to move your team to Korea and all that stuff. Well, potentially Korea. I guess we don't know for sure yet, but assuming that that's the case, but wherever Pacific lands, you got to move your team there. Like, can you walk like the fans and us through that process? Because I think a lot of people don't have a good idea of what it's actually like to take a team and how fucking hard it is to like get a team situated for this new
Yes.
league that you're going to be moving into.
They only have 2 months to do all of that too.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
crazy.
yeah.
I was making the joke yesterday. I was like, because I knew a week after SPG, I was like, it should be the other way around because they don't need to do.
Yeah, they don't need to do
They have to
shit.
do
Yeah.
anything. I was like, I needed that extra week, not them, right? I was like,
Yeah.
but no, there's a lot of paperwork. The onboarding process is a lot of paperwork, but I mean, at the same time, like it's not like Riot is asking for more. I think it's just standard with like any kind of league. Obviously the timing, like you guys said, it's 2 months. The visas, obviously the players are gonna stay for a long-term visa, so that's gonna take, like a lot more process and paperwork. Yeah, I think that the most difficult thing is just getting everything done on time in terms of, paperwork, contracts, all that stuff. Players gotta get their like tax filed, and with players, you know, players are like really young. They don't know what this even means, and we have to like. I literally had like
I
the
still don't know,
person
dude.
like just like like go to the gaming house, like grab the players, like drive them wherever you need to drive them and get this done because there's no way I'm trusting them to do this.
Nah.
There's no
Don't.
way they'd be able to do it. So but there's that. Obviously we got to look for a new place or in Korea. But I'm lucky that I do know a lot of the other owners, so they're helping a lot. Shout out to them. And yeah, getting the fifth because I need to do the visa. I need a letter of recommendation. To get the letter of recommendation, I need to have a roster. It's all kind of moving at 100 miles per hour, but yeah. But I'm sure we'll get it done. I'm pretty sure we'll get it done.
I feel you, dude. I go through this every year. Like every year in Korea, man, like getting my visa renewed and doing all that stuff. It's always a hassle. So
It's tough.
I
It's tough.
can't even imagine how much worse it is for you.
Yeah. Gotta do
Okay.
it for everyone too, but yeah, gotta set up a local entity and all that stuff. So that takes
Right.
time, but
Yep.
yeah, it's all just paperwork.
Okay. I hear you're looking for a fifth, and we have some of the greatest and well-networked minds here on this podcast. Would you guys like to recommend some names to Gary? Just for a fun exercise, just name some names and see if it sticks. Maybe Gary's like, maybe he'll try it. I don't know. Since the window is still open for quite some time, right? So who knows?
Before we do that, are you
My window is technically 1 week. Technically.
Oh shit!
Oh
All right.
god. Okay.
It's a personal window though. It's not Riot's window. It's
your
Suggested
window.
window.
It's your
Okay,
window.
okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Are
Yeah,
you
personal
guys
window.
open to taking non-Indonesian challenge, or are you guys planning to stick with Indonesia as much as possible?
We are actually so in our short list we do have non-Indonesians, yeah. So we're trying a couple, yeah. So we
Okay.
are open to it. The simple answer is we are open to it.
All right.
Well,
Anyone would like to start with a name?
Go ahead.
I'll throw out the obvious one, Aspas.
It was so funny. We actually had this talk and down at the other podcast the other day.
Yeah, yesterday.
Um,
Yeah, I saw that.
And actually, one of the coaches like made, I don't know if he was joking, but he did say like, "Hey, obviously the rumor was he was going to go to Bleed. Now that Bleed's not there, like, are we able to get him?" And I was like, um, I mean, I didn't talk, but I heard the rumor was like the buyout was a certain amount of price, and I was like, I think I could pay the buyout, but I don't think I can pay his salary. So yeah,
I'm joking
no,
anyway. I
sorry,
know
no,
that's
Aspas, yeah,
No
yeah,
Aspas, unfortunately. Sorry, Aspas
no, Aspas.
fans. Okay.
No,
What
So
Aspas
about
is
like
disappointing.
What about like one of the Korean players that just became free, like Bane or Foxy9 or something like that?
I think it'd be harder because I heard they don't speak English.
Yeah.
Not
That's what I
not
heard, but
well.
I'm not sure.
Yeah, not well.
I would toss out the name Crystal, maybe. You know, RQ is Jemkin, and then if
Oh,
Boom picks up Crystal,
yeah.
it's like that might be interesting.
He's really good, but I did hear he already has
Oh,
a big offer. So I don't know if he wants to go to like a little
Ooh.
team. He has I think a bigger org coming for him.
Okay.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
what I heard.
Makes sense.
Makes sense. BNB, you have a name?
I'm gonna actually go with an Indonesian name here. Just thinking of things because you guys did lose Zesby, right? He was in the smoker role, but NC Slasher
Mm-hmm.
used to play smoke, and NC Slasher is now an innie. So if he moved to smoke and you guys took an innie, maybe Valden from Alter Ego, because he
Mm.
was one of their better performers during the grand finals. He also has experience on
Mhm.
RRQ, so there's a bit there. I'm just thinking, just if I'm looking locally, but because internationally, there's way too many people to consider. I think.
Mm.
Why do
No
I feel like
response.
you've already
Okay.
picked one?
That's like
He's just
Mm. Well, good recommendation. Yeah.
okay.
I mean, obviously, if you're looking local, there's not that many
Yeah.
list of players, right?
Got
So I
the good
think
ones.
the dealers can do one. Yeah, it's probably like four at best,
Okay.
and that's assuming we don't do a role change, right?
Right.
Which is a possibility, but again, the work will be restarted with
Yeah.
like how the team works and stuff.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I would just kind of leave it to the coaches, to be honest. Let them
Okay.
decide. And
Understandable.
VP, your recommendation?
I have a name, but I don't think it's so much a recommendation as he's just free right now. Mr. Lmemore. He re-announced
Mm.
that I think it was yesterday or less than 12 hours ago, I think.
Release
He
that.
retweeted that he is now looking and is a free agent. So I don't know. Is Elmi more like a prospective name to you, Carrie?
I think at this moment, we have a very specific list of 6 names. So
6
I think it
names.
would be one out of those 6 that would end up going to be our fifth. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and you can
Sense.
actually shorten it to 3. Like, there's 3 really strong candidates, I guess, and then if
Okay.
that doesn't work, then we'll
That's
pick
the
up
other
from the
3.
other 3. No,
Okay.
but they wouldn't know which one they are.
Right.
I can say it
Right.
here, and yeah,
Sure.
whoever it ends up being, he doesn't need to know if he was part of the first
Yeah,
3 or
you're
the
right.
last
You're
3.
right. Just leave it at that. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah,
Just a very curious question. What is the potential like biggest blocker for you not getting those top 3 candidates you have? Is it contracts or money or
contracts, and it's
contracts? Okay.
I would even say BS contracts, BS clauses, BS a lot of really weird stuff. Like, yeah,
Okay.
I think a couple of you guys in this call know who I'm referring to. So that's kind of the stumbling block
Okay.
for a couple of them. But for a couple of them, like honestly, like the orgs are very helpful, so it's pretty clear. But
Okay.
for a couple of the candidates, they have contract stuff.
All right, leakers, you got a week. 6 names. 3 are very strong candidates. 3 not so much. So get to work and tweet at us at YAP2ASIA. Thank you. Okay, I have one question. This is looking a bit forward. Again, congratulations. I think it's very well deserved that you guys are here at VCT Pacific for 2025.
100%.
You guys have been carrying Indonesia, to be honest, like since the very beginning. You guys have been at the top, so it's about time, right? And now the challenge is, obviously Riot kind of changed it last minute as well, where instead of 2 years, you only get 1 this time around. So you literally only have this next year, 2025, to kind of prove yourself and, I don't know, make a mark in the scene. How does that impact your decision making or strategy as a whole? Because 1 year might seem like an okay time frame, but it's actually pretty short if you take into account like the number of games you're playing, the seasons or the segments of the year, like Masters 1, Masters 2, and then Champions. Do you feel like it's short? And do you? I mean, obviously you wish for more, but how does that affect your decisions over making rosters and stuff?
Yeah, I think to be honest, so let's say had we won last year, I
Yeah.
probably wouldn't have made the 2 changes that I did. Just because out of like, yeah, I mean, we qualified together, we should stick together. But now that it's like a 1-year thing, like you said, we don't have any chances to waste, so we got to come in ready. In terms of kind of like team practice, like I guess there's no breaks for the players because now we gotta, obviously have a new player, a new system, and we have like what 2 months to kind of do it. And obviously in December it's gonna be holiday season. No one's gonna even scrim and whatnot. It's gonna be hard to get ready. And then in January, I think we start trying to get everybody in place and get ready for the new season. So that'll be like the biggest changes. In terms of like how we practice or ideas in the game, I don't think it changes much because while it's not formally announced, we're not really changing. While Meow is leaving, we're not changing or adding any new coaches, right? So it's just going to be the same ideas. So in that sense, I guess nothing is changing. We'll just be getting the fifth ready to to play for us next season. Yeah.
Okay.
And
Well,
the new format, like I think the only thing that I don't say worried, but one thing that I see potentially happening is obviously I have confidence that we could make it to champions,
mm,
but realistically, I also think SPG would make it. So it'll be like, if we both make it, then it'll be like who finishes further in champions, right?
yeah.
Yeah, and one of us would still go to Ascension. But at that point, then I guess we should be winning Ascension. So, I mean, if that was a scenario, then I would like to think a champions team would win Ascension. So it wouldn't
Yeah.
matter, but who knows? Tier 2 can get pretty wild, right? Maybe Bleed runs it back with Aspas. Who knows? Like they
At
might do crazy
Ascension,
stuff.
okay.
I mean, who knows, man?
Nice. That's what I like to
They
hear.
brought Scary for Ascension last year,
You're right.
so
You're
it
right.
wouldn't be something
Okay.
something too surprising. Yeah.
I want your honest take on this, Gary, as much as well. You don't have to name names, but in the 12 teams in Pacific, where do you stand?
Assuming last year's roster. So like if we were playing Pacific instead of Ascension,
Yeah.
I think we'd realistically be like top 5 or 6.
Ooh.
Ooh.
Yeah, like with the
Okay.
Gen.G and also with their roster last year, right?
Yes.
Not like the Pacific
The
team's
new-
new roster.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. I think we'd be
Okay.
top 5, top 6. Yeah.
I would think that's fair, to be honest. I don't know what you guys think, but I think top 5, top 6 is
can see it.
actually pretty realistic and fair.
I mean, the middle of the pack in Pacific is pretty chaotic.
Contested.
Let's put
Yeah.
it that way.
It's contested. Yeah.
It's so
And I think they have a good chance.
I'm
of
not
fighting for that.
dunking on anybody. There's like just a lot of really good
Yep.
teams in the middle
Yep.
there, right? And I think you guys could fit in there. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a
think it is
Southeast
fair.
Asian thing, right? We can win against anyone. We can lose to anyone.
Yeah.
That's like-
Yeah.
Specific after all.
It is,
Okay.
yes.
Yeah, that's cool, I think. And we've covered pretty much everything. Is there anything else anyone else would like to ask, or for you, Gary, if there's anything like you'd like to share with us or with your fans and everyone that's been following the news closely in the past few weeks, like anything you wanna tell us?
I think for me is just thank you for all the support throughout the years, and I know we were really disappointed we couldn't lift the trophy at home. Like I was telling everyone that at the end of the day, it's an international tournament at a home crowd. Not many people get to experience that, so it would have been like a really nice moment had we won it all. In the way in the way how everything turned out, like it would have been
Yeah.
really crazy, but
Yeah.
at least we were still gifted a gift from the Riot gods. So we're very thankful for that, and we hope that I'm pretty sure we won't disappoint next season. Um, and we would definitely try our best. And I know the most recent news are a bit shocking to many, but
Mm.
just kind of trust that we know what we're doing. It's not something that we haven't put thought into or all that stuff, and we're not overcooking. So don't worry about that. Yeah.
All right. That's all. Actually, I have one final question. Sorry.
Okay.
Oh, I was
Go
just
for
gonna
it.
say, I was gonna say when he gets to
Yeah.
Korea, hit me up and I'll take him out. Like that's
There you
For
go.
sure.
Okay, so one final question for me, and if anyone else has anything, please do. You mentioned like how rare it is for anyone to get a chance to play at the home crowd, and in your case, almost actually winning the whole thing. What do you think it means for Valorant in the region, or specifically in Indonesia? Does it help in any way that we held such an event of that caliber, and seeing how the home crowd was wild? And Quack, maybe you can attest to this since you were there. Which I would just want to say, I had major FOMO because I could not make it because I was cock blocked by a friend's wedding. So I hated the one time we have a big event with such a crowd and with a result that turned out. I wish I was there, but yeah, I was curious. What do you think? Was there an impact having such an event here in Indonesia?
I would like to think so. I would like to think they do a masters here or something like that,
Oh
or maybe
shit!
a
All right,
champs.
all
I
right.
mean, I think the crowd was. I mean, I hope they were happy. I think they were happy. I mean, I think if you were at the arena, you'd be pretty happy with how loud
Yeah,
it was, how
for
passionate
sure.
everyone was. So I mean, I hope it had an impact. I mean, at the end of the day, it's first-hand experience, right? If you experience it, then Yeah, I actually was like thinking like if it didn't turn out such a way, would I still have been gifted the slot? I really didn't know.
Mm.
Like I mean I didn't know, right? But it could definitely play a part with like how the crowd was and everything. So I don't know, and I didn't want to ask. Like I was like, hey, look, I'll gladly accept. I won't ask. I'm not gonna
I'll
put
take
in
the
that thought,
slot.
like, yeah,
Whatever.
but
Just give
like
it to me.
like,
yes.
honestly, I was like thinking like, oh, if it wasn't 3-2, if it wasn't 9-3 comeback twice, if it
Right.
wasn't OT, if it wasn't that 0.0085 second defuse, would it
Mm.
still have happened? I don't know. I don't need to know. Just thankful.
Just
All right.
All right.
So,
Well,
Sounds
I
good.
mean, Bangkok's getting a Masters. Who knows? Maybe Indonesia
Yeah,
will prove their
yeah,
it's
worth.
yeah.
time. We're
I
due.
wasn't there last year, but I did hear that that was a really good crowd too.
It was, yeah.
For scary
It was sick.
in Ascension, yeah.
It was
For
pretty good.
scary in
They were
Ascension, they're
really
pretty.
cool. Thai
No,
fans
you
are so good for esports. They're amazing. I love Thai fans.
very passionate and very
The
loud
Hoon
too.
better make it. The Hoon and his boys better make it then.
Yeah, they should. They should. You were there at the group stages last year, right? Because I
Yes,
remember you were being
yes,
you on the group stage. You
yes.
just weren't there for the playoffs.
Yeah, I was also cock blocked by by your friend's wedding. I was in groomsman duties. I had to go, and I remember in the after party, I was looking at tickets to fly back to the final. We were
Oh
9-3
shit!
leading in Pearl. I was about to
Mm.
bow. All right, 4 a.m. I was like, we gotta go 4 a.m. because or else we're not gonna make it for. I think it started at 1 p.m. right or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it never happened. Damn it.
Okay.
But
Well,
yeah,
that's unfortunate. All right. If there's nothing else, Gary, thank you so much for your
I
time
do
and
have a
sharing
question.
this. Oh, sure. There you go.
Almost.
go
Please.
for
This
it.
is a very serious one, like, leading up to this year. So, who's your fifth?
Just
We don't
trying
have
to
an
get
answer.
him.
Like I said, we actually don't have the answer, but like there's three really strong names, and it will more than likely be one of those three. Let's see if I can give a hint. None of them are from T1. I mean, like none of them were from VCT, so they're all
Ah,
from yeah, they're all from like either challengers or Ascension. Yeah,
Okay.
the tier 2 circuit.
Okay. You know, this
nice.
episode is not going to be out until next week,
They are
Gary.
not
So
all Indonesian. Oh, I'm not sure if I have it by next week. Because the one we want is going through some prison. Let's put it that way.
okay.
The one we really want is in prison, so got to
Oh,
figure that out. Yeah.
all right. All right. All right. All right. Cool.
Yeah.
I think
You know
that's
what I
it.
mean, CB?
Yes, I do. I understand you very well. So I might have a pretty good guess. We'll talk about it later off stream,
Yeah,
guys. So thank you
for
so
sure.
much, Gary. It's been a pleasure. I think we gotta talk more about stuff next year as you get accustomed to whatever's happening in Korea. Wish you the best of luck, and I'm sure we're gonna see a lot more of you in Korea, in the benches, in the chairs, and wherever your team will be. So I'm looking forward to that.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks for
Thank
the
you, Gary.
Thanks,
opportunity.
Gary.
And thanks
Take
for
care,
being the
man.
very first ever YAP2ASIA guest. Yay.
Yeah.
Hey.
Oh, thank you.
Yes,
And on
sir.
his home too.
Yeah, yeah, we'll do a whole
We found a
segment
way to
about
make
the
it work.
issue. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
of
Thank
course.
you, by the way. Thank you.
Yes.
All right. See you, man.
Bye-bye.
Take care.
Gary,
Enjoy the weekend, guys. Take care.
You too.
you
Bye.
too.
So yeah, that was Gary. I think it's been pretty fun talking to him. I love him. He's so energetic. He's so passionate when it comes to esports, and especially when we're talking about his team. As you guys probably have seen him on stream somewhere, he's just that dude that's always
That
screaming and
dude.
is the loudest in the room. Just go
Legit.
to any event. If there's a Boom Esports, there will be the guy in the audience just screaming at the top of his lungs. That
And
will
he's
be
a
Gary.
pretty big guy too.
He's big. He's
He's
big.
tall.
He's tall,
Like-
big, built like a tank.
I think he's like
Um,
what 6'3", 6'4", bro.
So, yeah,
God.
he
Yeah,
gotta be. He
man.
gotta be. You will see him for sure. It's impossible
Yeah.
to miss him at any event. So yeah, it was fun. Thank you, Gary. Shout out to him again. I dearly hope that we will get to see him again here on YAP2ASIA with maybe better circumstances when it comes to tech. Actually on his PC. So yeah, no more of that. We'll show you guys a bit of a snippet of what happened. But anyway, so yeah, Ascension guys. Obviously Boom Esports got a pretty lucky turnout. I don't think there's any other way to put it. They got pretty lucky when it comes to the slot that they were given. But having said that, I think it's also pretty well deserved, being the second placer at Ascension. Sinprisa is going to be strong, as Gary also mentioned. He actually, in his words, I think mentioned SPG as one of the stronger teams to look out for
Well,
going
he
into
said-
2025.
Like they would
He
make
said
it to
like he
champ.
thinks he says he thinks his team is like 5th, 6th, in the previous year of
Yeah.
Pacific, and he thinks Shinprisa is a little bit better than his team. So like, what does that tell you about Shinprisa, right? Like they're
Yeah,
that good. I mean,
Shinprisa.
but I've heard that from a lot of different teams who were scrimming them.
Oh, yeah.
During the champions and the lead up to champions, and they were just like, these guys fucking slap. Like like this team is really good. So
Yep.
not super surprising.
I mean, would
The
you put them
fact-
there, Clint? Like, since you've been covering Korea for a while, obviously maybe not over Gen.G because they won, a bunch of shit. But
yeah,
like,
they weren't
DRX.
better. I don't know. I mean, DRX like caught lightning in a
Like
bottle
Earth,
there at the end of the year. Yeah. Like previous DRX, not the current DRX, which we'll get to later. But I don't know, because that DRX, like, I didn't expect them to be as good as they ended up performing.
At the end.
Yeah, no, that the end of that year, like, they just hit another gear.
Yep.
And that was crazy to see, like, the young kids really stepping up. Like Flashback, Foxy9, and Bane were playing pretty well overall. Mako's just Mako; he's always good, and Buzz in particular was on another level. So I don't know if they're beating them. Maybe with the slightly better like neon play that you were seeing from Dombi, like that might have pushed them over the edge of DRX. Like they had that kind of like where Buzz wasn't really as strong of a neon player. He's not a bad neon player by any stretch, but Dombi is really a really darn good neon player. So that might have been able to push them over the edge, but I don't know.
I just think
very.
like
go
sorry,
ahead,
like
Ryan.
the fact that the whole SPG team, considering the fact that they're kind of like rookies, never really played on LAN before, but they
Mhm.
were still able to perform to that standard in Indonesia and in the
Yeah.
Pertama arena and everything. That says something, and I feel like that's one of the factors as to why they are really like big contenders for Pacific.
Yeah. And remember, we were talking about how we were a bit worried about SPG because, new country, they have to adjust to a new LAN setting. And we didn't see any of that, actually. Maybe at the start, they were kind of like
Map
trying to
one.
kick into gear. Yeah, map
A little
one.
bit maybe.
And that's it. And then they just took off and literally just demolished every other team. The only time they lost any map was actually versus Boom, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
So props to SPG and the players. But having said that, Neon's probably getting nerfed the shit out of her,
Absolutely.
like
No.
very, very soon.
Sad.
So Danby, you might want to start cooking up some other agents.
He
Otherwise,
plays Jet too.
he does, but
Yeah.
you would see
Not
that
as
it's
good.
not as good as his Neon, right? So
His
I'm a little
Neon was
worried about.
I'm just
So
very
good.
weary, to be honest, of counting Ascension teams super high at the start of the year because that's what
Right.
everybody did for Bleed last year. Like, oh, they're gonna smash.
That's
Like everybody
true.
was hitting me up, hey BNB, or otherwise vice versa. Where do you think Bleed is gonna be start of the year? Oh, they're gonna be like number 3, top 3 for sure, right? And then
Last
we
year.
saw what happens. So I mean, it's
Never
kind of
quite know.
hard to take how much Ascension counts
Yeah.
for a team's power level, especially since there's a long break before
You're right.
Pacific actually happens, and many things can happen between then. So I'm very cautious. I do like this Boom team. I do like this Impreza team, but I'm very cautious about
Yeah.
where I put them coming for this upcoming year.
You know what this calls for? We need an inter-tier tournament be a constant relevant thing, right?
Off season.
Like off season, dude.
Off-season tournament.
Why doesn't it exist yet is my question. I think like doesn't it make it that much more interesting if Ascension teams just face off against their potential opponents for next year in an off season leading into this season? Like that would give us a bit of a better idea of where the Ascension teams actually stand.
Maybe potentially it's just because of like the scheduling and everything, you know.
Oh yeah, you know
dude?
what? Yeah, I'll take it back. I don't think Boom has any time to think about an
Yeah,
off-season
we would
tournament.
love to
now.
see it, honestly, but it's just the schedule.
Yeah, it's probably
You got to set up
impossible.
Team House in whatever other country, and then do you still want to go off season tournaments? And yeah, it's a lot.
They must be hungry for it, but I don't know if they just
Yeah.
can from a logistical perspective.
It's great that
So
the
much
other teams
work.
are kind of helping them find a place because I know
Yeah.
those teams did that in the first place. Like I don't know if I'm supposed to say this, but DRX did help Team
Yeah.
Secret for one. A lot of the Korean
Yeah.
teams in general are helping a
For
lot
sure,
of the
for sure.
non-Korean teams find a place.
We know for sure from Paperthin, we also got some good help from a lot of the Korean teams as well. So that's what I love about this region. We're just friends.
Community.
Yeah.
Yeah. GE's team house is like 3 blocks from my house. So
Oh,
they're
shit. Okay.
I've met up with a few of the players here and there, you know, they just
Nice.
had a drink or two, you know, just
Okay.
You ever walk
yeah.
over, like you guys got
try to
some
help them
sugar?
with yeah.
Hey Clint, can I borrow your mouse pad?
Yeah, no, I mean,
Sick,
I would have,
though.
but I mean,
Yeah.
like, I would meet with like Big Time and Spin before they left GE,
Right,
and
right,
like just
right.
talk to them and like get a feel for like their team and that kind of stuff, and like, so it was nice having them here. But like, I try to help them too, like if there's like any little things they need, because I speak enough Korean that I can do most stuff,
Right.
pretty decently. So it's like, do you guys need like, you know, like help with like a post office thing, or like there was one time, this wasn't for this was for PUBG, but not for Valorant, but like a player won a monitor and I had to
Okay.
help them go to the post office and get it sent back to their
Whoa.
home because they couldn't like fit it in their carry-on baggage and stuff. So like you know, but there's good resources here in Korea because esports has been around for so long. It's just like the infrastructure is amazing, and the people here, like a lot of us, you know, whether it be talent or otherwise, have been here for quite a long time. So
Look at
I think it
you,
would be
pop up.
Look at you, man.
Yeah.
Five
Hilarious, just
stars.
like,
5 stars.
한국어
man.
잘해요.
everyone, Clint,
Clint!
Dad, help me translate, please. How do I order
I've had to do
food?
that a few times. Yeah. I've had to help you guys with that too. Yeah.
Right. Okay.
All right,
Well,
all right.
to wrap it up, Quack, maybe you'd like to share some final thoughts about Ascension since you were there.
Yeah.
Maybe share with us, how the vibes was in Jakarta at the
I
Britama
just
Arena.
think like the whole story of Ascension Jakarta, not just Boom Esports, but the whole tournament, the whole thing from the production crew standpoint as well. Everything was like just straight up magical fairy tale stuff. Everything was it's stuff that you see in movies. It doesn't happen in real life too often, but it really happened just for this one tournament because like we all knew it was supposed to be in Tokyo, but then like last minute things changed. It's going to be in Jakarta. They had like 6 weeks to
6
prep
weeks.
six weeks only
Damn.
just to like find a place, get it secured, set everything up, and like prep all the graphical assets, the music and everything. And like for the whole, I guess, Indonesian community and Gary being there as well, like there's just so much passion there. Gary, like, just to put things in perspective, for like the first few days, it was, I think like a Friday or something, right? So there's not too many people coming there to watch just yet. First day of Pratama Arena. And maybe there are a few fans, and Gary's there in that section, and he would still be louder than everyone else in there. There were times like I'm casting, and the production would swap the camera over onto Gary just to show him popping off at like 1 kill or something. And he'll like stand up and like do that at the camera. The aura, dude, you know? So yeah,
I
it just
remember-
means so much.
I remember hearing you on the cast being like, "Oh, there's Gary."
Yeah, oh, there's Gary. Because we know him, and like, oh my god, it's amazing. But yeah, like just everything that happened leading up to it. Honestly, this is like Mika's story. So I'm just a messenger here because she works with Core A, the video production team and stuff, and she was kind of tight with some of the Indonesian production crew people, and they repped up Challengers, right? Challengers stage 2, everything was awesome, everything was done. It's in the mall, it's great. Boom won, everyone's happy. And then they were told, like, guys, your job's not done yet. You still gotta set up for Ascension now. And they all thought, like, wait, isn't it supposed to be in Japan? Like, we have to do it? Some of them had like holidays booked and stuff. So it feels kind of like, oh, yay, we want to. There's more work. But also we kind of don't want to. But they all like pulled together just to make this thing happen. Like it's all done straight up out of passion to make all of this happen. Like all the assets, the little like batik elements that you
Batik
see,
elements, yeah.
super cool. The walkout music that they had with like the Indonesian elements,
Indonesian
it's on, like
instruments, yeah.
like bells or something. It's so like sick, the whole vibe that it created. And then for everything to happen the way that it did, things were honestly, I'm not gonna lie, a little bit scuffed. Like Victoria will have the videos of this. I'm not sure if she sent it to some of you guys. I don't know, she didn't really upload it yet. Like the hotel that we were staying in, not the greatest, not the worst.
I've seen it.
Not the worst.
Stories about the hotel. Yeah,
Right?
yeah.
But not the greatest. There's like a little window in the room, but it doesn't go out to like the view outside. The dry garden. The window is not, you don't get a view of like the parking lot outside or trees or whatever. It's a window into like a hallway where like I guess the hotel staff would use that to kind of walk around or do stuff. I don't know.
Interesting.
But yeah, like you're expecting it to be a window view, but then you open up, it's an empty hallway, and it's kind of creepy. I tried climbing out of it. The window doesn't open all the way.
You tried to climb out of the window?
Yeah, for fun. I don't know.
What?
Victor has a video of this. And
Yeah,
then
I saw the tour.
I worry about you, dude. I worry about you.
Dax. I just wanted to see what's on the other side. Like, what is this hallway? Who's in it? I don't know. Dax found the door into the hallway. He just went around the hotel floor that we were on, and he just found this door that had a label on it, Dry Garden. I don't know what that means.
Dry garden.
Open the door, and it's the hallway. It's a hallway all the way through, and there's nothing inside. There's some like storage stuff that the hotel staff keep, I guess. But you could actually, from some of these windows, you can't climb out because it doesn't open all the way.
Oh, I see. Okay.
You can look into people's rooms, and it's a little bit like,
all right.
Well, I have to ask one important thing because we are Asian here for the most part. Was there a bidet?
Bidet? Yes, there was a bidet.
Okay,
of course.
Then we're good. Then we're good.
Of course.
Look,
Yeah,
I'm bidet pilled. Like I totally get it. Like,
like window kind of scuffed, but you got the bidet. Okay, we're good. All right,
Yeah.
let's go.
Definitely.
And I guess everyone kind of had to adapt to a lot of things just to get the show to work. But because everything lined up the way that it did for Boom, to make it through the grand finals, and like all the casters, all the production crew, even with like all the tiny things that we had, tiny, hiccups here and there, everything still pulled through just through sheer passion for the crowd and everything. And it all just lined and synced up to that very final crazy 0. How many seconds was it? I don't even know.
Yeah.
That
like
one moment.
5 or something. Yeah.
That's what it all came down to.
Crazy.
What about like the player vibes? Like how are they gelling in there? Like, were they kind of frustrated maybe that they had to change, potential venues or something like that? Or were they pretty chill with it? Where they're just like, well, it is what it is,
Are they
like,
I
hanging
think
out?
they were chill. Like for the most part,
yeah.
the players are there and they're ready to play. They would usually stay in their hotel rooms and practice and whatnot, scrims all day. Some of them maybe they got a little bit bored at night, but then it's nearby. It's still in Jakarta. You can go to a lot of malls in different places, or grab a drink or something. Um, the Koreans brought ramen and loads
Of
of them.
course.
I
That is
saw
that is you didn't even
yeah,
have to say that, and I knew that was true, dude. Like
in the
that just
hallway.
every event.
They
It
made
just
themselves comfortable.
dude, I went to one event. I can't remember where I was. It might have been Dubai, and like literally the Korean teams were asking me to bring more ramen because they had run out. Because I was coming like halfway through. I'm not
That's
even
the
kidding.
secret. That's why they're that good.
Okay.
Do they just
I mean,
not
they are
want to try the
amazing.
other food, or like, they just
Dude, we
want their
have
comfort food?
yeah, we have Indomie, dude. That's like
We got Makan to Asia.
Makan to Asia. Exactly. Makan to Asia. I mean,
No,
okay,
Korea's like
Try some of
it's
the
like I
recommendations.
think
They're
it's
good.
because like gochujang is so prevalent in foods here that like
It's that
it's almost
flavor.
like like
yeah,
it's almost like some Americans with like ketchup or mustard where they
yeah,
have to have it. You know what I mean? So I think that maybe
understand. No,
that's
that's
Reminds
fair.
you of
I
home.
think even we Indonesians we take
Sambal.
into yeah. So and we also favor some of the ramyuns that the Koreans have. So it's fair. But
Food
you
was
gotta
great.
try Indomie the next time you're here if you
Well,
haven't.
the last time we did have this show, episode 1, we were talking about Macau to Asia and food to
Yes.
try. Did you actually do it, Quack? Did any of you actually get what was suggested?
Not necessarily like specific places or anything, but we definitely did try some of the dishes that were suggested. We
Okay.
had
All right.
matabak manis. I think Victoria posted it on her
Yes.
socials. That was brought to them like on the finals day, and they had it in the middle of their desk. It was
Did you
pretty
have
fun.
it?
nice.
I did. After
How was it?
casting, straight up, just went for it. I was like, "Is that what I think it is?" All right. And it's like kind of like I don't know, it's just so decadent. This peanuts. It's a little bit greasy. Like the butter just melts down your throat, and I'm like, oh. After the cast, I was like, oh, I hadn't
Need
eaten
something
for
to
the
coat the
whole
throat
day.
there.
But
Yeah.
yeah, it was like so good. I was like, okay, I'm good. It was
Nice. All right, that was
everything
Ascension, ladies
you
and
would hope for.
gentlemen. I think we've covered pretty much everything from A to Z for Ascension, and we would like now to transition into another event that Quack did,
Sweet.
which I think you should be talking about more because you are our resident expert in the scene, and of course we are talking about game changers. So yeah, Xipto won. Can we
Yeah.
say that it's unexpected? No.
No.
In that fashion, no. I think it was pretty much expected.
They've barely
all the way
dropped
through.
any maps this year. I mean,
Yeah,
they're just
dude, that's
No.
insane.
A little bit
the only
weird though
maps they've
sometimes.
dropped are to Sisu. Like that's it.
That
Right,
one,
right.
yeah. They did try out Abyss at some point.
Mm.
Yeah, that was against Sisu as well, I think. And
That was the
it looked kind of
overtime. It
weird.
was like
Yeah,
17-15 or whatever.
17-15, I think. Yes.
Crazy.
But otherwise, it still is pretty much Xipto dominating everything. The whole Alexia Neri duo and the whole rest of the other team as well. I mean, Camille is like just hardcore support for everyone. And they were just that dominant. I don't know what else to say. Xipto,
Mm.
you don't really expect anything different, but I think it's just really cool for them to have like a LAN competition because we don't see that too often for game changers. This
Right.
was, I think, before EMEA did theirs, it would have been the first regional offline game changers event.
Damn.
Yeah,
Oh yeah.
so
It was
that's
pretty
quite
sick.
something for the girls.
Yeah,
Yes,
it was really cool. Like we did there was like a lot of post match interviews. I
Yeah.
really like that you're getting a lot more into the players and their histories and like kind of piecing together like some of these teams and players maybe you're not super familiar with, outside of Xipto in particular, just because they've been so dominant for so long. I really like that. Yeah, I thought it was kind of cool. Like having a LAN in particular, like
yes.
if there's anything I could take away from this is having a LAN for this was awesome. It was
Yeah.
so cool to get to see the players there.
It's just it's very progressive, I guess, like from everything that has happened, because of course, game changers, it's still kind of growing, and
Yeah.
from like the first few years that I did it, like everyone was still kind of shy. You know, they wouldn't even really want to show their player cams or do like interviews much. But then now we get to put, you know, a face to the name and to see how good they are, and even getting to see their personalities. Alexi,
Right.
whenever she wins, like if she's
Oh
feeling it,
yeah, she's wild.
that you can hear the scream. Like the whole setup was that, like the stage was like I guess in the main stage area, and our caster room was somewhere further to the back, and it was like in a separate area. It was a closed door and everything. But even from behind that closed door, I could hear Alexi scream all the way from the crowd in the middle of the cast with headsets on. I'm like, that's Alexi. Oh my god. She just went around and she's like, ah! I don't know how to do it. But yeah, pretty insane.
Yeah, you were mentioning like, sorry, I was just gonna say like you were mentioning how the players have been shy, like progressively now being more open to show, but maybe it's just a Xipto thing. Like this roster have been around for a long time, and I don't remember them ever being too shy, to be honest. And maybe they're just confident because they're just so good.
Yeah,
They've been the core
Okay.
roster at least, right? They've been around for
Yeah.
together
Yeah,
for quite a while now,
the same
and they've been
roster.
dominating since like years ago. And I guess it kind of contributes to that confidence of now being more expressive on
Mm.
LAN. I
But it's
don't know.
not just Zipto being expressive also. I
Okay,
think.
okay.
Like, I mean, Clinton can vouch a little bit, I think.
Yeah.
The Japanese teams. Like, Japanese Game Changers is kind of big. Like, a
Yeah.
lot of,
Yeah, it's
like, if
huge.
you look at their, the tournament standings and everything, it's all backed by big orgs. Like, you have
Mhm.
Scars in there, you have Reignite
PRX.
Lily. Yeah, I guess, exactly. ZETA, of course, and like,
ZETA, of course, yeah.
Yeah,
it's
Fennel.
super
yeah.
cool. Oh, Fennel, of course, yeah. Another big name.
Huge
And
orgs.
they are also getting like a bit more expressive, and a lot of fans love them, like lining up to take pictures with them as well.
Nice.
They were a little bit quiet, not gonna lie. The Japanese players sometimes very, don't want to say stoic like when they're playing, but if it's a very close moment, and like Serena, for example, getting a lot of 4K moments or 1v4 clutch, and suddenly you'll hear it like in the back, like "Yatta!" I'm like, what? Okay, there it is. They're getting themselves hyped up. Awesome.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think one of the things that Japan does really well with their esports, and especially with Valorant right now, is like they have a lot of like community stuff. And I noticed this because like I'm pretty close with some of the teams and players in Japan, especially for Game Changers compared to some of the other regions, and they do a really good job with like having like just social events where it's just like them and streamers, you know, playing tournaments together or playing games together, or so they do a really good job with like their social media presence, and like having a lot of like these smaller run events where it's just kind of for fun stuff where they get some of the big name streamers, and they also get you know, some of the girls to play as well. So like that's some of the things that I think they do really well that maybe some of the other regions could look at to sort of build themselves, to sort of get this momentum rolling. They've really done a great job with like promoting their teams and their players. So for what it's worth, they do a really nice job with that, and I'm really happy to see them have results. Like I'm pretty good friends with Erica from ZETA. She's like the player manager for them, and she was like so happy that ZETA, you know, qualified for GC champions, and just like the amount of work they put in and everything, and like how much it means to them. Like she said, she tweeted that she was like crying after they qualified and stuff, you know. So like that's really really cool. Just to see like the level of passion that's there in Japan right now for esports is super awesome, especially for me. Like, as I've been in Korea for like 8 years now, and now it's finally starting to take off. Like you're always kind of looking at Japan, you're like, this is eventually going to be a thing. Like this is, it has to take off there, and now it finally is, and it's super cool to see.
It is. It's freaking awesome. I'm honestly a little bit jealous. Like when I took a look at social media, once I saw how Game Changers EME had their stuff set up for that LAN, they had a really big crowd. It's pretty freaking sick. I think Game Changers, like if it continues in this trajectory, could be really big, and also for like the players as well. Like they could eventually, you know, join to play like tier 2 tournaments and everything, like for challengers and whatnot.
A LAN in Japan for GC would pop off. Just saying. Just saying, Ryan. Just saying.
Ooh, that would be sick.
I have a question,
bro.
Quack. What's that one room at the venue that I saw that was like it was straight out from Dune or a sci-fi movie?
Oh,
Gray room, like the Bene Gesserit
the one that
prayer room.
Mika said, maybe. um, I don't really. It's just a connecting room to all the
Yeah.
other like rooms. Like it's towards the back of that little. It's called the True 5G Pro Hub Arena. So
Oh.
it's the top floor of a mall, and it's basically where they have like the whole stage set up, and in the front would be where the players play and everything, and they're not like facing each other or whatever. And towards the back, that's where that Doom room is. It
Yeah.
has the
I was
weird.
like, it's straight out of a spaceship. Are they
Yeah.
playing in this?
Like the
what?
whole mall is like designed to be very like, oh, this is a tech kind of hub.
Oh.
So they sell gaming stuff. I don't know, futuristic looking.
Was it like
interesting
That's
branding
sick.
quotes?
was it like in a convention hall in a mall? Is that where it was, or
It's just a mall.
just a mall?
It's straight up mall.
It's just
called
there, straight up.
yeah,
part of
Siam
it. Okay.
Discovery Mall or something like that.
Damn.
And it's on the
Nice.
top floor. The back room, that's where you have that Dune looking thing. But it's really just like a lobby connecting to all the other
Okay.
rooms that we use. The player ready rooms, the caster rooms, everything.
Loving Thailand
Looks
more and
super
more
cool.
by the day. Can't wait for Masters Bangkok, dude. Damn.
Yo,
Yeah.
You guys had
I can't
you
either.
guys had like an intense shift. There's only 4 of y'all.
yeah.
Crazy.
Swapped around. Things got a little bit unhinged. Vic started talking about cooking wingman.
Oh,
yeah,
dude,
yeah,
no,
I
no,
saw
no,
that,
no!
yeah.
I saw that tweet. Please, no, dude. Oh,
Poor
my
wingman,
God.
dude.
I just rolled with it. Yeah, talking about cooking wingman. But yeah, although it was a bit of an intense schedule, I think that's just the resources available and everything. But I think they did a pretty good job. Like Mika, Riku, or like maybe her first time doing offline Valorant, and then
Yeah.
also Vic as well, casting for the first
Oh yeah,
time.
that was her first cast, right?
Well,
Or
she's
was
done
it
like some community
First
stuff before,
official?
actually. First
Yeah,
official like
broadcast
VCT,
casting.
that would be.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Sounded
but it
really
was
good.
basically fun, and we just vibed, and hopefully it did justice to the players' plays and everything and their stories. Apart from that, I think where was I going with this? Oh yeah, we also like speaking of Masters Bangkok. Apart from having game changers there was a day that we did see a few riders around. Maybe doing a
Okay.
bit of scouting, talking a little bit, thinking about where they want to
Okay.
do Masters. I don't know what their discussions were, but I just saw faces. That's all.
Okay.
They're getting ready,
Well, the next one's
They're getting ready.
Bangkok, so maybe they're like, it's just
finding the
get
right
vibe
venue,
out.
and yeah.
Speaking of venues, little side note, that same venue you guys had the show at, Game Changers, is also where Talon has their watch parties, apparently.
Oh, I see.
They did the Africa Valorant League Thailand one in that
There.
same spot
In there
too.
too. Oh.
Oh, so
okay.
that's like the spot for like
Maybe.
any Valorant
stuff.
related stuff, esports related. Okay. Good to know.
Interesting.
Interesting. We'll probably
Yeah.
pay a visit.
Since you
when in
guys
town.
came
I wanna-
straight from...
Yeah, go ahead.
I was
I was gonna say, like, I want to talk a little bit of nuts and bolts about Xipto if we get a chance. Like, I know there's
sure.
like a weird segue, because I really think, like, obviously they're dominant, but I think like why they're so dominant. I think I'd like to explore that a little bit.
Okay.
Like, I think the first thing that comes to my mind for them is like their macro. Like they're so good at reading the map. They're so good at adjusting to like the teams, what they want to do. They win a ton of first duels and stuff like that. But I like they have really good like protocols and these like trap plays that they have set up. So I actually have one ready that I sent to Juandi because I thought this was so cool. It's just a little simple play. But
Icebox?
Shirazi was really popping off. Yeah,
So
Icebox's
Shirazi
Viper's
definitely
Pit.
feeling a little
And
bit of
there's a
nerves knowing
there's
that
a
they're
recon
right
dart
around
that
the
comes
corner.
flying in, and they use a
Talon
bait and
propped up as
switch,
well.
right?
Suzu
So
and Zeta,
Kamiyu
you want to go in.
absorbs the recon dart here, and then Shirazi backs out, hides her presence, and then just steps around the corner and knocks 3 players down. I mean, like little things like this that I'm not seeing other teams do to this level at Game Changers is like what really sets them apart. Like they have great macro, they have great aiming, but like things like this that just like the other team just has no hope of doing much against. And there's a lot of noise that ZETA was making on the way through too, so it kind of allows Xipto, you give them that extra moment to really mentally prepare for how they want to play like situations like this. But I just really want to like tip my cap to these players because they and their coaching staff because they do such a freaking good job.
It was this Icebox was the 13-1 grand
13-2.
final.
Yeah.
13-2. Okay, there it is. Yeah. Pretty much
it must
was 13-1.
Yeah, it must have been the same map. Because I can echo what you're saying, Clint. Because I remember specifically there was this moment on B side. I'm sorry I don't have the clip with me. I'll do more of my homework for next time. Apologies, guys. But I remember very specifically this moment where they were trying to plant at B, and they were trying to do it with a wingman. And what they did was they tapped the spike and literally just stepped back to wait for them to find out where the circle of the nano swarm was. And then they found this very small corner at the edge, and then they planted there. So it's like all these very small nuances to a round these ladies are thinking about. And I don't think we see that in a lot of the other teams. And to further to that, I think it's also the fact that because the other teams are not putting enough pressure towards Xipto, that they are allowed room to actually think and do a lot of these stuff. So honestly, it just feels like they're on a different level altogether. And it's shown by all these like small intricacies and small things that they do round by round. So yeah, I would echo that. Tip hats to the coaching staff and the players themselves.
Same as well. I think it happens partially because it feels as though ZETA plays very like by the book, you know, like very standard stuff. If they hear the spike being tapped, they're gonna react to it.
Pop,
And
yeah.
That's why Xipto gets to do what they do.
Yeah, yeah.
And the reason why Xipto is like able to do all these like tiny little intricate details and also being able to play off of each other that well, I think blackenBlue will be able to add on to this as well. It's the fact that they really have a lot of chemistry together. They've been playing together for a very long time, not just like last year or SMG or anything, but both kind of the fact that it's kind of like Inari, but also a lot of the old Bren players, Bren Victress, if you remember that, Nico. Yeah. They're all friends.
Yeah, those kind of things were something I've even like observed even when they were in Brent, like Shirazi and Alexi way back then, right? You look at how, as you talked about, you know, kind of the tapping the spike, backing on the way. There's this, I guess, concept called letting the room breathe, and that's what they're really great at. React, let it breathe, see what they react to, and then you react to that. So there's a third step in that, and that's something that they're really good at doing. And I have to credit that to, I guess, kind of the common denominator there. They're really great leadership in Alexi and how she's always been such a high IQ player. Now, granted, the rest of the team are also very big brain, but even back then, even in her very first Game Changers tournament, even before she was in Brent, I remember watching her and being like, damn, this team is good, and damn, this player is good. And she's IGLing while top fragging, while duelist, while playing everything on the board. She's amazing as a player. And then you add in Inari, who has been consistently, arguably, the best Game Changers player in SCA all time so far, because she's been top 3 for what, 3 years now in a row. He's the only player in that with that level of consistency. It's hard to argue there's much more teams better in the entirety of Pacific when it comes to Game Changers as a whole, and even in the world. And I have to put that to their leadership, really. And I talked to Alexi about it in the past as well. She did mention that it's also part of their coaching staff, like Colbat. They keep him from SMG into Xipto because they feel like he has provided a lot more in terms of being a coach than just the strategic part. He really does help keep them in check, make sure they're disciplined in terms of when they wake up, what time they go to bed, that kind of stuff. Like, guys, it's not just in the server, but out of the server. We have to approach this with a different mentality if we want to be world class. And I think that's the reason why this team is world class, because they know that it's more than just one facet of the game. It's not just in the server, but out of things too. You know, it helps especially to be best of buddies, I guess, coming into it.
Oh, yeah.
You can see that the chemistry, it flows. I mean, I don't think if you had shit chemistry, I don't think you can make a 4 duelist 1 Sentinel comp work.
Yeah,
at Worlds,
no chance.
at Champions.
Yeah.
I'd forgotten about that.
And you can see, like, you're right, it's very visible. Like, you just scroll your timeline if you're following any of the players. They troll each other like daily.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
and they post each other, they tease each other, like these stuff you just don't see in a lot of teams, even like in the VCT circuit, like all these VCT Pacific teams. I personally never see any of them trolling each other and being that close.
Sometimes I
as in-
see like the Korean players doing it.
Oh yeah,
but
sure, like maybe
that's-
shit talk, right?
Yeah,
But
a little bit. Yeah,
a little
yeah.
bit. But these ladies, they take it like to the next level. They hang out
Yes.
together. They go on holidays together. They get meals, drinks, stuff like that.
Breakfast.
Look at that. Look at that. Like you're seeing on your screen, someone just
Yeah.
posting Tarathiel's face like that, just
Yeah.
responding with
No,
each other. Like,
but that's the thing, right? Like all teams kind of hang out after, like team dinner.
you're right. Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
Because they're a team, but they hang out genuinely because they're friends. Like they're
Correct.
just best buddies. They just want to be the Brady
Yes.
Bunch and just hang out all
I-
together. Because
This should be the standard for a lot of teams.
I do
Like,
have a little clip.
okay,
I don't know. I didn't submit it, but I might send it to John D.
find it right now. Let's go.
I don't know if we want to keep it in the podcast though. This one might be a little bit like off record stuff.
Sure.
Um,
We'll have Joandy decide.
there's a very specific establishment
in Bangkok,
restaurant. Yeah, in Bangkok.
Okay.
You kind of know where this is going. Yeah, the story, right? They went to this. It's actually a night marketplace. I know the place. If you go there, there's this like one restaurant that's like really loud, and if you eat there, it's basically they play like loud, I don't know, EDM music, and like
Okay.
buff shirtless dudes will dance around you while you eat.
Oh,
And they're having fun, like celebrating their Xipto Game Changers Pacific
victory.
win.
Heck
Yeah.
Heck yeah.
Heck yeah!
Go. Yeah,
I don't know if
That's
you
how
want
you
to
do
this
it, man.
podcast,
That's
but
how you party.
throwing
Heck
it in
yeah.
there. Yeah.
I'm all about that.
All right.
Let's go.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah, I mean, and also real quick, I'd like to give some like props to ZETA
Sure.
Oh,
for
yeah,
the
for
way
sure.
that they were playing. Like obviously, like everybody's getting wrecked by Xipto. You shouldn't feel too bad about that right now. I think like I was pretty impressed. Like they have pretty good macro ideas too. When I was watching them, like especially on Ascent, like I felt like they had a really good pulse for the map. Like they know when they can take space, when they can challenge, angles and stuff like that. Their post plants are really good. Like if they can get into post plants, they're really solid. I think the biggest thing they struggled with, especially against Xipto, is just like first bloods, and I also saw this against Mirror, where they're maybe not as good at kind of anticipating the angles, and like when they were pushing up tube on Icebox, they get just dumpstered by Tara all the time, and like. I think that was the one thing I saw from them that I would say like needs a little bit of improvement, is just kind of that mechanical awareness and some pretty basic stuff there. But I thought overall like their general idea of the game and how they approached it, like you said earlier, was a little bit standard, yes, but they play it pretty well. They have a really good kind of flow for the map sometimes, and they can read situations pretty well. It's just everybody goes against Xipto and kind of has a tough time. Like that's just
Yeah.
the name of the game.
Yeah, and I think their kind of mid rounding has been a lot better than most of the teams here in Game
Yes.
Changers Pacific, and part of that has to be, I think, Yerk is for the majority. She was playing really good on most of their game series wins. Really, obviously, kind of struggles against Xipto, but everybody does. But for the most part, her being that innie for them, she was leading the charge from the forefront as an innie. There was a lot from her coming out that I think would have made this team a lot less viable if she wasn't as activated as she was throughout the tournament. Mako was doing well too. Obviously, Serena there as a background, but I think, am I pronouncing it right? You are,
I think.
you are.
You are,
She
I think,
mentioned
yeah.
she named herself UR because she wants to make it easier for casters to call her.
Aw.
Like,
Thank
that's
you.
the nicest thing I've
is
ever
so
heard.
Good. UR
Most
is
players are like, fuck the casters. Let's make the
Yeah,
hardest name possible for them.
What was that Chinese dude?
Oh,
HS something
HF,
something?
HFMD. I don't know,
HS.
dude.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, thanks,
HFMDI or
brother.
something. Yeah. Thanks, dude. And he like told like that he wanted the casters to say the whole
Yes,
like string of
specifically,
characters.
yep.
Eat me. No way, dude.
Thank you. You are. That's very
We're just
nice.
gonna say HFM. As long as we're-
HFMI.
That's what
we just call him
casters do
HFMI.
anyway,
We
I
all
think.
just agreed. We're like HFMI. That's it. That's all he gets.
Yeah. Okay, but realistically speaking, like going into champions for game changers, I think I will be lying if I say Zeta Division will not struggle. I think like I said, there's still that difference in level of play, I think, where I think playing by the book is just not going to cut it, unfortunately, at that level. So I'm just hoping that in the coming weeks before Game Changers Champions actually starts, they'll figure out some ways to incorporate some flexibility into their gameplay. And maybe by reviewing their VODs against Xipto or the other games, they might be able to find some ways to, I don't know, give a fresh perspective into how they approach the games and rounds. Because otherwise, I just have to say it's probably not going to look too good going into the global stage.
It's not going to
Yeah.
be easy for sure.
There's a lot of tough teams. I mean,
Tough teams.
NA,
dude.
Brazil, EMA all have really
Yeah,
good teams. So
all
it's-
cracked players too.
Yeah,
Holy.
the
Yeah.
gals.
yeah, G2's still strong. I mean,
Yeah.
it's going to be tough.
Same
No
core.
doubt.
No doubt. No doubt. No doubt. Okay. Was there anything else you wanted to cover for Game Changers in Thailand, Quack? Any fun stories you'd like to tell before we wrap it up?
I think we're good.
Okay. Yeah, all right. If we have any off stream or off record stuff, then we can talk more a bit later. But with that, I guess we can now move on to the last part of this podcast. I think we're approaching the 2-hour mark now, so it'd be good to start on that. We haven't even started.
We have a lot.
And this is actually a lot of stuff going on. We are in the midst and the thick of the Rostermania. We are seeing a lot of movements, some confirmed, some still rumors. I don't know if you want to talk about the rumors too much because they always change daily. How about we just talk about the stuff that are confirmed and that we can elaborate on? And I know, Clint, you have some stuff that you wanted to talk about with regards to
Yep.
the Korean teams. So maybe
Sure.
we can start there, and then we can just kind of go team by team, country by country later on.
Yeah, I think this is like one of the most chaotic regions right now in
Yes.
terms of like players and the situations that they're in and everything. And obviously with like Gen.G winning a Masters last year, you kind of were thinking, okay, maybe they're going to stick together. They don't. They make pretty big changes. So this is kind of why I said, like, in the first episode, like, things are going to be crazy, because I was hearing all of this, and not everything played out exactly the way that I was hearing, but very similar. And I was really kind of curious to see how this would all shake out. So, I mean, I think, for Gen.G, they keep Texture and Karan, right? And that's, I think, pretty good choices. I think, obviously, Texture is probably the most well-balanced Korean duelist out there right now. I don't know if he's the best, but I think he's good at everything. Like, there's nothing that he's really not good at. Karan is just, when you get a young player that's that good, that naturally, that quickly, stepping up to the tier 1 scene like that after having very little to no experience in tournament environments, like that's a no-brainer. Like you're keeping that player for years, for sure. So happy to see those two come back. I think it is going to be tough. Lakia doesn't surprise me that he's leaving. Munchkin, he's kind of been bouncing around teams for a long time. I thought maybe they would try to keep Munchkin a little bit longer because he's a really solid IGL. I think he puts in a lot of really good work, but just seems like for whatever reason it wasn't going to work out. Meteor's the one that kind of shocks me. I thought he's just too good of a Sentinel player for them to get rid of. I don't know what happened. Again, I don't know if it's contract or what typically it is, but I think he's the one that I would have liked to have seen Gen.G maybe be a little bit more aggressive, because I think probably actually the best player on that team, in my opinion, overall from last year was Meteor, and I think he brings a lot to the table that very few players in his role can, where he's not only able to like lock down sites for you extremely well, but he does it so well that he's getting multi-kills and he's lurking all over the map. And yeah, I'm curious to see where he lands. For sure a T1 team is going to pick Meteor up. He was too good. But I don't know, whether it be T1 or whatever, but there's a lot of teams out there that I'm sure, Japanese teams as well, because he's played with them, could be looking at him. Who knows? DFM dropped a bunch of players. So yeah, I think we'll start with that, and that's kind of the one that surprised me a little bit. I thought maybe Meteor might stick around, but it is what it is.
Yeah, not just you. I think the whole world was surprised. I think even either Tens or Boaster tweeted out that they were surprised by Gen.G's roster changes. Because yeah, it's logical to think that hey, you won one Masters, you probably wouldn't or shouldn't revamp that after only one loss at Champions. But maybe the fact that it was Champions was meaningful to Gen.G. That maybe Champions was like the ultimate goal that they wanted to achieve, but they just didn't, and so that was the reason why they had to go through these changes. So yeah, it was tense. Um, and I completely agree about Meteor. Meteor was insane this year, dude. I feel like he was the highlight of the team. I know Texture have obviously been reinvigorated after his stint last year, or was it last year? I forgot.
Last year.
But yeah, last year.
Mm.
Okay, so it's only been 2 years. Fuck. Yeah, after last year, and now Texture this year was just insane. But the overall core and structure and foundation of Gen.G, I think, was resting on Meteor's shoulders, and the fact that he was let go or he decided not to continue was a little bit surprising. But I don't think he's gonna have any trouble looking for another home.
No.
Yeah, just everybody they let go is a pretty hot commodity right now, right? Hot
Yes.
potato, passing around. And I mean, I still remember the clutch from Meteor against Paper Rex where he jumped
Yeah.
over the Gecko ult, right?
Oh,
From on B side bind, just crazy stuff.
Correct.
Always been such a smart player. I think obviously his mechanics are there, but he's always been such a cerebral player, and you kind of need that as a sentinel. And many teams would love to have him on his team right now. So I think you're right on the money. Big surprise to everybody that they blow up the team. Not just the fact that they won one Masters, but they made the grand final of the other
Oh,
versus
yeah.
Sentinels in a full 5 best of 5. So crazy to blow it up, as you kind of talked about with Gary a while ago here, Andy, Sleepy. Like some teams, they just swap these players out like
Yeah.
batteries almost, where you feel like maybe I can get some charge out of this a bit more.
Mm-hmm. Interesting stuff. Okay, so yeah, that's Gen.G. We see a lot of interactions between the players that have announced that they are now free agents, either restricted or unrestricted. We especially like this one, I think, between Munchkin and Buzz. Dude, when I was reading this, I almost spit out my drink because I can't believe Buzz tweeted something like that. And I guess this goes to show how close the Korean players have gotten. Because I don't think I've seen anything like this like 2 or 3 years ago when we were just starting out in Valorant. I don't think we've seen such expressions from the players from that country. And now we get this guy saying,
Buzz is
"Go
so
play Jet
funny.
then, bitch." What the fuck? That's like
They're both really funny.
so out
They're
of the
both
blue,
really
yeah.
funny guys, actually. Like
I
really
love
nice
that.
guys.
I love that a lot of the Korean and Japanese players as well are kind of getting a bit more in tune with English in general. They're like realizing,
Yes.
hey, like
Yeah.
globally, there's a
Buzz.
really good thing we can do for our optics here if we
For sure.
practice it a bit more.
Yeah.
And by the way, I know Munchkin's tweet is a little awkward in English there, but
Mhm.
honest to God, I've talked with him quite a bit behind the scenes in English, and he's pretty proficient. And I mean, I think he
Nice.
could, for anybody who's watching who might be on a team and is considering him, like I think he could pick it up pretty quick. I don't know if he could IGL in English,
Right.
but he's still a pretty cracked player. Like we've seen tremendous individual plays out of him still. And he's played literally every role basically there is in the
Yeah.
game. So at one point or another. So I think he's worth a shot for sure. And I don't know if the team secret rumors are true or not. I know that's floating all over the place, but I think he could fit in just about anywhere.
Yeah. And just to further note, Munchkin here, I'm so happy that he's still around and still kicking ass. Because I remember back in 2021 when I was still coaching and facing against him in scrims, I was like, this is the dude that can play Valorant.
He is
This
him.
is the type of player that you would want to copy and become if you're looking to be a good Valorant player. And he's still here. You want a Masters, goddammit. So I think he's also not going to have any problem looking for teams, to be honest.
And I think I'm pretty curious about Gen.G because they're doing that open player recruitment. And I
Mm.
mean,
Yeah.
that's interesting to me. I mean, it's not that there isn't actually a pretty decent talent pool to pull from in Korea. Like there's quite a few good tier 2 teams, as we saw with SPG, right? Like and there's even more than just that. Like there's a lot of really good teams out there, but this one kind of shocked me a bit. I mean, I felt like you would have a pretty good pulse on things. Like I don't know if you could have that lightning in a bottle again, like you did with Karan, where you're going to be able to just kind of pull a rank demon out and turn it into gold. That's kind of curious to me. I'm a little bit concerned for Gen.G next year that things are going to be pretty rocky.
Yeah, I share the
In
same
my
sentiments. I think there's pros and cons to it, right? Doing that whole open thing. The kind of concern I have is that it kind of shows that maybe they're not sure which direction they want to take with the team, so they're just trying to take anything, right? At this point, that will work. They're going to look for what might stick for them, and I guess as you mentioned, Karan, them pulling him out of nowhere, even though he's been known in the local scene in Korea for a bit, apparently in the challenger scene, they were kind of thinking, or at least in the ranked scene, they probably are now a bit more open to just taking somebody who might not have as much experience, as long as they feel like they can mold him into a better player. But then again, it's also a good thing that they're open, I think, to all options for the most part. They're not really just focused on like, okay, we can only take people who have certain experience. It's a double-edged sword, I think, here. And for Gen.G, I don't know, man. I feel like it's just such a huge risk to take when they are doing so well this past year. Like, you would think out of all the Pacific teams, aside from maybe Paper Rex, that they would kind of have their, I guess, direction together. But doing an open kind of sign up, your open audition, basically, it kind of goes to at least point that they might not be sure what type of team they want just yet.
Yeah.
Which is interesting when you think like they probably found the key to success already, and then they're like throwing that away and then find another key to a different lock.
Yeah, I mean, obviously they want the winning team, but like, it seems like they're not sure what type of pieces yet to put there.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay. Well,
It's a big
best of
hit.
luck to Gen.G.
Yeah.
Let's go down the list, gents here. I think we got a pretty fresh of the oven news today with DRX bringing in two relatively young players, one of which I've heard quite a lot since last year, Hyunmin. I think he's been in the sights of a lot of teams since like last year. Heard a lot of good things about him. Finally gonna see him play next year or even earlier. I think they're gonna play in like some off-season tournaments, and we're gonna see them be featured there very soon. So yeah, we have Human and Freeing. I'll be honest, I haven't really taken a look at Freeing. I've seen a bit of Human, but what do you guys think?
Well, I mean, yeah, I have thoughts. I think they're really good players. Hyunmin probably will be a duelist, is my guess, since that's mostly what he plays. Yeah, pretty solid player overall, seemingly. Freeing is probably the one actually that people are really excited about in Korea. Like he's probably got, outside of players like Persia and like Yeoman as an IGL, has some of the most buzz around him, since he's been able to play in a couple different leagues and still have relative, like, the same levels of success. When he moved over to Rare Atom in the middle of this year, or well, towards the end of this year, I guess, to try to help them qualify, and he almost did. They came up short of the finals, right, against Crystal's team, Shilai. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. But or Shilai. So like Freeing is just like, he's just kind of one of those players that he was playing on D+ for a while, had quite a bit of success. I think he had to take a break to do his military after he was, so a long time ago. This is back in the long ago during First Strike Korea. He played on Ong Dark Horse, and Ong Dark Horse was a team that at the time, like Achilles and I were super high on, because we were really impressed at the very beginning of Valorant with how well they were playing. And then he took a break. I'm pretty sure it's because he had to do military. And now he's back, and he's like maybe better than ever. The fact that he's able to play across different regions, still maintain that high level of success. He's typically more of a sentinel type player, so that's kind of curious to see where his role is going to be. Like there was a joke like DRX is like mostly Viper players right now, like with the current roster they have. But he can play. He's been playing a little bit of Clove. But kind of the traditional sentinels with KJ and Cypher, but plays it at a very high level. So that's kind of curious if Flashback is still going to stay on the team, which he seems he is. What is that going to look like with where their like whole situation shakes out? So I'll say this to close it. I think DRX can take just about any players and mold them into really good players in their system. They're really efficient at doing that. Again, it's just, are they going to run into some of those same blocks that they've had throughout the years where they can't really get over that 5th, 6th hurdle at international events? And, how well are they going to do in Pacific? Those are the big questions, I think.
Yeah, I mean, also because like Mako's still there, and how is he gonna kind of like lead the whole thing? Because
Man, poor guy.
yeah, he's the only one left.
Was he the one talking about like during
The
this
whole
past
IGL
year?
thing.
Yeah, the whole IGL thing. Like,
Struggle
I
with
used to
IGLing,
be-
right? Yeah.
I used to be the new kid here, and now I gotta
Yeah.
lead the ship.
He's got to be the big
That's
brother
him.
now.
Yeah, I was actually just browsing through Human's stats, and I tried looking for a series where he went negative. I can't find any. So
He's really good.
that's gotta be a confidence boost for anyone rooting for DRX. Literally in this year, some even last year, like there's not one single series where he went negative. Total KDA. So he can play. I think that's pretty exciting.
I'm just wondering how they'll all fit in as Paperthin
Yeah.
mentioned, right? If Freeing, he plays Viper, smokes.
Exactly.
Mako, he plays Viper,
Yeah.
smokes.
Like, where are you gonna?
No, but I would echo Clint's words there. I think DRX, they've kind of been that's figured out how to structure a team, I think. So they've probably gotten down some formula to manage these kinds of situations. Obviously, the players, we don't know how they're going to adapt, but as long as there's the coaching staff that we know have been pretty consistent in developing these players and turning them into just well-oiled machines, then shouldn't be that much of a problem.
I mean, they still have like
yeah.
Termi, right? From
Yeah.
the strikers, and also
Coaching staff is
that
still the same.
the
Termi and Glow.
DNA is probably still gonna stick, and
Yeah.
they've proven to be. I mean, I guess just leaders in that way. Just how to play. They wrote the book how to play tactical Valorant.
Yes, exactly. That's pretty much it, right? And seeing how they found a lot of success towards the tail end of this year, that also gives me a bit of a confidence boost. Showing that DRX have opened up their minds a little bit to the different styles of play. Because if they were to stick to what they did like 2-3 years ago, I don't think they'll find anything like this year's success. But they've proven me wrong, so I'm hopeful that they will continue on that trend for this next year.
Not gonna lie, I still do miss the old Vision Strikers squad.
Yeah. Yeah.
I do
You
miss
can't remind us like that, man. Those were the
I do too.
days, dude.
the stacks mouse kiss. Mwah.
Man.
Mwah. Yeah, those were
Maybe
the
they'll
days.
do that on T1.
Well,
Do they have
Stacks is
different
a showboater.
sponsors?
He is a showboater, so for sure.
Yeah.
Definitely, because Razor's the sponsor for DRX. So
Yeah, so
I
T1,
don't know.
I'm not
I don't know
sure.
if T1
Different
has
mice.
I don't know who they're. Yeah, is it Logitech or I don't know who.
SteelSeries?
I have no idea who are their partners. Yeah. Look this up. Figure this out.
At the PC
Nike
Mag.
mouse. Fuck it.
Nike SteelSeries.
SteelSeries, I haven't heard their mice in a long
Pulsar?
time. Oh, Pulsar. There you go.
Oh,
Yeah.
Pulsar's probably actually it. That's probably
Pulsar
it.
mouse.
Oh, yeah,
probably
yeah.
SteelSeries for
That
the
would make
headsets
sense.
and stuff.
SteelSeries, has
Yeah.
some.
That would make more sense.
Peripherals
Pulsar for their mice.
yeah.
Okay. Nice.
Okay.
Ralph
Pulsar's
Lauren
our
for the
sponsor
shirts.
too.
Oh, please no more Ralph Lauren. No more, dude.
They're
Do
really
you not
nice.
like-
They gave us custom ones for
What?
creators.
Okay. Here's the thing. I actually like some of their clothes. It's just
Okay.
I don't want to wear polos anymore. Like I just
Yeah.
like they actually have good clothes, and
Okay.
they've been a great sponsor for us for a couple of years for Pacific. We're really happy about that. I really appreciate that. But
More
let me have a
selection.
little bit more freedom. I don't want to wear polos anymore. I don't look good in polos. I feel uncomfortable in them. I feel like I'm at a country club, like back in America. Not really my vibe. But they have great clothes. Let's open up the wardrobe a little bit, and we'll be good. There you go.
That came from the heart, dude.
If I mean, if
Quack
Pacific
knows
was
because he's.
happening in,
Yes.
if Pacific is happening in Japan, I'd say why can't we just go like Uniqlo or something?
Ooh.
Yeah, I like Uniqlo's clothes. Yeah,
Uniqlo's good.
yeah, dude.
Nobody nobody doesn't like Uniqlo. So
Yeah. Fun
Cool.
fact: Asteroid wears Uniqlo top down 24/7. Nothing else.
24/7.
Exclusively. He does.
Good
That
for
you know what
sir.
he wears it well. So okay,
Yeah,
we'll go with that.
good build. All right, let's move on now to another Korean team. We've talked about SPG, so this is the last Korean team that we're going to talk about today. T1. Obviously, they found some coaching staff, new coaching staff, and they've brought back one of the players that's been in the circuit for quite some time, but we haven't really heard from in a while, Sylvan. And this actually is pretty exciting for a lot of people. I think we've seen his potential before when he was still in Gen.G, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
Yep.
And now that he's back in Tier 1 with a full Korean team in T1, I think we're going to see something from him. But having said that, I also have seen a lot of people rating T1 as subpar with this roster. So I'd like to kind of hear it from you guys. What do you guys think about this new roster with the new coaching staff as well? Like, where do they stand? Because I know on this side of the world, I think in general, people are like saying T1 could be one of the strongest contenders for next year. But why is it that some people are saying, they're kind of meh? So where do you guys think T1 is right now?
Question
know.
mark.
I want to
I'm-
hear
I'm
Quack's
question-
thoughts. No. I want to hear Quack's thoughts.
Okay.
Go Quack.
Straight up
demand it.
question mark. I think the whole thing is just like you have some of the bigger names in Valorant, right? Stacks, Buzz coming back. I guess is xccurate still? I guess he's still there, right?
Maybe as a streamer.
Maybe we don't know about Buzz for
Maybe.
sure yet either.
Yeah, we don't know. That's something that we've heard a
Hopefully.
lot. Yeah, but
It,
that would
it
be
makes the
sick.
most sense, right? It makes
It
the
does.
most
It
sense.
does.
At the very least, just full Korean roster. But apart from that, it's like they just have a really big coaching staff. But I don't know exactly like how that translates to the players' performance in Pacific, because we've been seeing that for quite a while. They always have had a huge coaching staff. Whenever the players are getting ready in the ready rooms, we see that they have like full packets and stuff, and they're going through them, figuring out like how they're going to work with that. But sometimes maybe because in the past it wasn't like a full Korean squad, the performance didn't really translate. But then maybe now, if it is a full Korean squad, and depending on who the players are, it could look a lot different, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, to me, it's a big question of are they going to get those big pickups otherwise, like other than what we've seen. I'm huge on Sylvan. I think Sylvan is one of the most skilled controller players out there. Even though he like his time in China didn't go like it wasn't amazing, he was still pretty good. But I have no idea how much of that is like language barrier, and he went with Eco over to China to play with Top Esports. I think like when I used to watch him back when he was on WGS, I thought was like a tremendous player, had a ton of potential, and I felt like teams weren't really giving him the light of day for whatever reason. I have no idea. I don't have any like juice like that he's like a bad teammate or anything like that. I've never heard that. I just think it's like there's a lot of really good controllers out there, especially in Korea. So it's been a little bit tough for him to find a team necessarily. So I think this is a good pickup. I think he's not going to blow the doors off of you necessarily. But he's got really good game sense. He's really good late round. Like he's really good in those 1vx situations. So he's definitely the kind of player that I think a lot of teams should have been looking at a little bit more seriously. And I kind of think Gen.G kind of dropped the ball with him a little bit last year, trying to shuffle him in and out of the roster and trying different roles and stuff like that. I think that didn't do him any like huge favors. So I think he's, in my opinion, he could be like he should be a top 5 controller out of 12 in Pacific. Like if you're just looking specifically at that role, I think. But it depends. But it's still a good core. I mean, Stacks, Izu, Izu, a guy, ton of potential. Haven't necessarily seen it, but it seems like once he was on Duelist, he was a little bit more comfortable. But then, if the rumors are true that maybe there's a couple other players out there like Buzz who might be coming over, then what's his role going to be? Is he going back? Or is he going back to initiators? I think there's a lot of big question marks. And if you want to talk about the coaches, the two new coaches, I can because I know of them a
Please
lot better.
do, yeah.
Okay, so Indigo and Chungak are former PUBG pros. Indigo played on OGNentis Force, which we had a joke about them. We called them OGNentis Fourth because they got fourth at like every event they played at,
Mm,
and including internationals. It was so funny because they would get fourth in Korea and then they get fourth at internationals. Good team, really good player. Chungak as well used to be a player for Danawa back in the day, back in like 2018, 2019 or something. Danawa was the team that won PUBG championship last year, but very different players, very different system. But they're both like they've had some coaching experience. Chungak was on the Wolves last year in China, not really much success. And then Indigo was on Nongshim Red Force, who just came up short. They pushed SBG as well in that finals. It was a 3-2. So there's some chops there, I'd say, for Indigo in particular. Not just as a player, he was a very successful PUBG player, like a very, very good one. Back in the day. As a coach in Valorant, he's had some success. So there's like things to look at there that he could have. I don't know exactly what his role is going to be on T1 yet. Still trying to figure that out. But I think they could help. And this just basically is the absolute like thumbs up that it's an all Korean roster, right? Like Indigo doesn't really speak great English. It's not bad, but like clearly they're going straight Korea. Is the other big thing that this tells you.
okay, that's what I'm curious about though. Like, they have had some experiences now with Valorant, but how did that PUBG experience translate into coaching in another game?
That could be a
Completely
whole other
different.
podcast that I could talk
Yeah,
about.
I know.
Like,
So that's why I'm like thinking about it a little bit, and I think we just got to pull up one of these coaches one of these days and just ask them straight up, like, how do you manage these like transitions? How do you manage like multiple coaches? Because I personally don't have any insight personally because when I was coaching, I was solo, and now with PaperX, we only had like a very brief stint with an assistant coach, and so there isn't much that I know about like a full coaching roster.
To be
And
fair.
I'm very curious about how teams like T1 and Gen.G and DRX are managing these kinds of workflows. But yeah, I think it's pretty interesting what's going to happen with T1. I just hope we find out soon enough about that rumor that we're on about, whether Buzz is joining or not. Because
I'm
that
like
would
refreshing the T1 Twitter account. Like, tell us.
Yeah, I noticed that. But I think that would complete the roster. I think Buzz would be a pretty a good force to bolster T1's roster.
To be fair for T1, their identity, I think, from the start, Pacific has always kind of been the team with different, I guess, backgrounds put together. Like, you had Carpe straight from Overwatch,
Yeah.
right? Come in here.
Yeah.
And then their other coach in the previous year was ZETA, and he was a Rainbow Six Siege coach.
Oh,
He actually won the world
wow.
champs in Rainbow Six Siege. So they
Okay.
pull him in. So they've always been a team that is willing to take experience from
Hmm.
outside Valorant, like straight up, like directly into their team. And I think that's amicable, but it probably is maybe a factor in why they just seem a bit not confused, but directionless sometimes, I think, as a
Right.
team. Like they add some pieces. You can see where they're trying to make sense of it, but it just doesn't work out. And maybe it's because there's too many chefs in the kitchen. I don't want to say that, but it kind of feels like it sometimes. So I'm hoping now that things are gonna stick to being more just all Korean. Maybe perhaps
Right.
that's gonna get a proper direction going for this team, because they're still pulling in guys from PUBG, yeah, for sure, but I think there's lots of merit to take from other games, other ideas. I mean, hell, even the whole idea of like playing offsite, playing post plant isn't necessarily inherent from Valorant itself. So there's a lot of ideas they can really take, I think, coming from their new coaches, as Clint has mentioned.
Autumn was also in PUBG.
Yeah, he was a PUBG coach. Yeah. He
Right.
coached the sister team to the one that Indigo was playing for. Autumn
Okay.
coached OGNentis Ace. So at the time, you could still
Hmm.
have two teams under one org back in 2019. A solid team as well. They did
Okay.
pretty well, and then Autumn made a pretty quick transition to Valorant after
Valorant, okay.
2019. Yeah, because there was some pretty big shakeups.
I
With
think
how
I figured
things
it
were
out.
kind of.
I think the meta is to get a coach that was in CS because that's what DRX has. and that's
Right.
what
Gen.G.
Gen.G
PaperX
has.
has.
So
Favorite.
that's what PaperX has. So hey, PUBG players, maybe step aside. I don't want to say that. I'm just saying, BNB might be onto something, right? Like, I don't know how it, because that's what I'm curious about. How does
Yeah.
your experience with these titles translate into a totally different style of FPS? Or it's not even a similar in that sense. Like, PUBG could have been like a third-party shooter, and this is a totally different tactical FPS. So
Right.
I
I
would love
agree.
to see. Yeah, I would love to get some insights into them. To be honest, like that would be very interesting. I think.
I think there's some obviously Valorant's a very different game. It's a new game. There's
Yeah.
nothing like it, but there's some transferable ideas, like the whole using utility to destroy utility is straight out of Rainbow Six Siege. Like I'll use this paint shell to destroy your trap, straight out of that game.
Yeah.
Right? There was no other game that did that before then. Uh, I remember when the Outlaw came out, I was like, Quack, it's the boss G.
Oh yeah.
That's the
Lost
boss
GA
G
cock.
from the
Right,
Rainbow
right,
Six game
right.
as well. So there's a lot, definitely. I think ideas you can come into it. End of the day, it's still a tactical shooter, so there has to
Right.
be transferable skills. That's why we have so many players from different games, like as we mentioned, Carpe, come on in. But yeah, I mean, especially for coaches, there's lots of merit there. And
Yep. Yep.
if you're talking about the coach that came from CS, there actually is one, a Filipino one, that did kind of announce his return to Valorant.
Aha. Yes,
Not as a
sir.
player, but as a coach. But he's looking for it.
Yeah. So next up, we have one of the hottest teams in discussion, at least this part of the world, in my country, which
RQ.
is RRQ, who have just recently secured a player that has been notoriously known to be hard to get a hold of, and that is Kush. I have some thoughts about this, but before that, maybe we talk about Warbirds first.
Is he really
Um,
Filipino though?
Well, yeah.
Is he?
He
He's not.
We
he's
claim
like
him as Pinoy
yeah,
We
Pride.
yeah, yeah,
claim
yeah,
him.
yeah, yeah.
Oh no, I was
Honorary.
talking
Okay.
about. I was actually talking about someone else. I don't know if
Oh,
you
you
have seen
you
it.
were.
DubsteP has announced his
Oh,
return.
Oh
well,
to Valorant.
Oh
yeah. Okay.
yeah,
I'm sorry I missed the
my
memo.
boomer boy, he's back.
Yep.
Boy.
Let's go.
Okay. Yeah. So, all right. Sorry, RQ fans, we're gonna have to put a hold on this. But yeah, let's talk about DubsteP real quick. He is announcing his return as a coach, and I think there's no one better than someone who's had such a vast experience in competing as a player at the top. He's willing to learn
We need to,
Nihongo.
but yeah, Nihongo, but he should
Yeah.
spell it in kanji. Come on, man. Like you don't spell it in katakana, like or hiragana. That's hiragana.
It's
Like
not very
don't.
convincing, is it?
Yeah, that's not convincing, bro. Oh, DubsteP, I love you, but bro.
Okay. But anyway, yes, DubsteP, lots of experience. He's obviously competed at the top in Valorant, so he's looking for a position of coaching in Valorant itself. So very direct involvement. I think he'll be a great pickup for any team looking to maybe bolster their forces. But anything you've heard, BNB, about DubsteP and where he could be directed in?
I mean, just lots of tryouts. I'd assume,
Right.
obviously, of course. Wouldn't it be funny if you just went back to Team Secret as like a assistant coach, right? That'd be something. But I don't know. Nothing really too much on my end. You know, he obviously tried to do his kind of last stint as a player on Oasis Gaming here. Unfortunately, it didn't make Ascension. They were close to twice, and I guess
Right.
it was enough for him to. He realized, okay, I'm getting up there in age. It's time to start being a coach, and that's kind of what the Philippines, I guess, needed because everybody who was supposed to be a coach is still playing. You know, like Jesse Vash for one. He's already he's still there. He's still playing, and he's proven his slot. But like, we need the vets to step up and start coaching the new bloods. And for the past 2 years, we haven't had that at all. So it's good for DubsteP now to find things. I don't know if he's going to be able to find a T1 team. Honestly, I think the most realistic option is going to be he's going to find a T2 team, maybe outside of the Philippines, maybe somewhere in SEA as a whole, because he does have SEA experience. He played on RRQ's CS
Yeah,
team.
in Indo.
Yeah, before even before Valorant. So, and he's got great English, so I don't doubt that he can play in. Rather, he can coach any team here in the entirety of Pacific. It's
Yeah, for
just
sure.
I'm just wondering where exactly he'll go. But on my end, no, nothing confirmed. Obviously, rumors of like he's trying out for this team, that team, but nothing we can really kind of pounce on just yet. I think he's just a good addition in general to any team that might take him, and we'll see where he goes. I hope he does find a team, and
Yeah.
likely, honestly, probably an Ascension team is what's gonna take him, because I'm looking at the other Tier 1 Pacific teams right now, and I don't really see any teams looking for a coach actively that might want him, aside from maybe an assistant coach.
I think he'd fit great as an assistant coach. I think he could be a really good like fundamentals type coach. Like you
Yeah.
said, he has that CS
my God.
background. He can he was a really cracked aimer like back in his day. So I think he could, kind of help with some of that sort of the micro part of the game in particular. I think he'd be quite, at least just from watching him play as a player, that's what I would think he'd be maybe good at. Also from a personal perspective, one of the nicest dudes.
Oh, yeah,
just
for
straight
sure.
up one of the nicest people.
Vouch.
Always wanted to talk to that guy, like, because he was so fun to talk to, just super nice. So just from like a personal reference, like, and this is important to a lot of teams, is that you're easy to get along with, and he absolutely is. So
Yeah, definitely.
by the way, T1 just teased their second pickup player.
Still
I just
teasing?
want to throw it out there, right? Just like right now. Yeah. I'm like I said, I'm like refreshing T1's page. So who do we think this is? We
It
can
looks
play
like
the game.
Meteor, no?
It looks like Meteor. Does
Oh,
it not?
damn.
Does it not?
Does it
Glasses.
not?
Pull
Head
up the
shape?
meteor
Yeah,
photo
yeah.
and put it together.
Yeah, let's.
Oh my God,
like,
we're doing that?
Let's do that.
We're
Let's do the
CSI
thing.
this.
Side
We're
by side.
CSIing this.
They're
Dude,
the,
for sure it's Meteor, man. There's no way it's not.
I think that's the one.
it's the hair, bro. He's got the
Yeah, it's
center
the
part.
hair, like this center
Yeah.
part and the shape of it. Like,
Zoom in, enhance.
Zoom in.
enhance.
Is there glasses?
enhance.
If
It's
it
It's hard to
actually
tell.
is-
I can't tell if there's glasses.
Okay,
or
maybe
not,
it's
but-
actually a little different.
Well, no, the
Cause-
center part is there.
Yeah.
The head shape I'm
head-
unsure about.
like more
that's a pretty
square.
common haircut. It's hard to say.
Yeah.
Why do Koreans have all the same haircuts?
Look at the
man?
ears.
What about his ears? Yeah, exactly. I was just about to say it. Look at his ears.
Can we
Hmm.
overlay them?
Tracing the shape of the ears.
Put
Yeah,
them in
like
the
a
photo.
to
Photoshop
me,
real quick.
if I were a betting man, I'd say that's Meteor.
I think so too. That would be
Mm.
sick. Okay.
Oh, I see it. I see it.
Question: Would
Shoulders.
this be a better pickup than the other one that we talked about?
Then Buzz?
Yeah.
Why not both?
I don't know. Yeah, ¿por qué no los dos?
Maybe role wise, it is better.
Yeah, because you have Izu.
Less
Yeah.
like yeah.
Yeah, they might want to keep Izu on the duelist after
Yeah.
trying him on the back line for so long throughout the year. Then they finally realize, hey, Izu's doing pretty good at
Yeah.
the front, so let's keep him
I
there.
think so too. Okay.
I mean, the
interesting.
other thing with Buzz is his English is good enough that he could actually play anywhere.
Oh
Like,
right.
actually,
so maybe he has more options.
He's very, he's very humble about it, but like,
He's
genuinely,
pretty good. Yeah. And it's
Yeah.
very fun to talk to as well.
Yes, super nice guy.
Super nice.
That,
guy
maybe
too.
that is. Maybe that is Buzz.
The outline.
That picture.
Hey,
The shoulders are a little lower on Buzz if you look at it. Like, look at his shoulders.
agree.
He's not as broad as Meteor is.
And he has a slimmer kind of head shape compared to Buzz, or rather
Maybe that
compared
is
to
maybe that is
Meteor.
Buzz. Yeah, it's hard to
Question
tell.
is, did they take new pictures for the silhouette?
Well, yeah. but
Yes,
you see-
yeah, they did.
Okay,
I
so
think
then
it's
fuck.
Buzz.
Sylvan's was new, so yeah.
I think
yeah.
it's Buzz.
Okay.
I think it's straight. I'm putting my money on Buzz.
All right. You're going
Alright.
Buzz. All right.
Yeah.
You can buzz.
We'll find out in like less than
few
a day.
hours. Yeah.
We'll probably be like right after we finish recording this. it'll
That's
be
not
out.
today. That's tomorrow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, that's tomorrow.
Well, they
Oh,
did
shit.
Sylvan, like they teased it the same way, and then they released it a day later. Okay, so it's
Yeah,
a day
All
yeah.
later.
right. All right.
It's a day later. Okay.
Alright.
Anyway,
Let's move on.
so where were
Sorry.
we? Dubstep.
RQ.
Yes.
RQ.
RQ now. Let's go. So Kush, I'll talk about him a bit. Warbirds, what do you guys think? Yes, ex-Team Secret coach
Mhm.
is now back in action as assistant coach to Ewok at RQ, which I think is a great addition. I feel like one of the key struggles for RQ, just from my personal observation, is the lack of ability to come up with new stuff and adapt to the teams they're playing against. And having an assistant coach, specifically tactical assistant coach, I believe, is going to be such a great help to RRQ just to try and develop their gameplay and identity a little bit to make sure that they can face up against these other teams.
Nah, dude, he's there for one reason and one reason alone. That's to beat Paper Rex. Because Team Secret constantly beats Paper Rex, right? And it's all because of Warbirds, I'm sure.
That is
right?
actually true. Holy shit. We always lost to Team Secret.
Uh-huh.
Actually.
Ever since,
It's
but
'cause
even
of
before the
game plan.
franchise league.
That's all he's
Even
there
before,
for.
yeah. I remember
Paper
in
Rex is that one
2021.
team you guys kind of can't, that RRQ kind of can't beat.
That's true.
Just
huh?
saying.
Okay, full circle. All right.
I am
see.
curious though
That's my
how how effective he'll be actually for this RRQ team, because from what I hear, the whispers, right, when he was on Team Secret, he did a lot of work like before the game,
Prep.
after the game, during the whole VOD review stage, prepping, great in that aspect. But it honestly, it didn't really seem like the players were listening much to him during the game, like during timeouts and stuff. It seemed more like they just talked between themselves, and I don't know, maybe they just felt more comfortable in that. Maybe leadership was different in how it's structured there on that team, but it just didn't seem like Warbirds was super. Even though he tried to participate, I don't know. I don't know if they were really taking what his word was for. It seemed like
Right.
a lot of his work was pre-game, out of the server,
post-game.
right, post-game, VOD, practice, all that. But during the game itself, I think that's why it's a good pickup for RQ, because they still have
Yes.
Ewok to do the in-game stuff during the match stuff, calling the timeouts, and then Warbirds helps out during the post-game and the everything else.
I could definitely see that happening. I mean, I think like for even with Dummy right now in Team Secret, sometimes it seems a little bit odd with like, I don't know, different team dynamics. They all have different ways of approaching how they want to perform in the game. But for Warbird specifically, like so many times that we felt during his run of Team Secret, after they might have like suffered some losses, then they would come back with a lot of crazy prep, and then they looked a lot better. It would look like they were 2-3 steps ahead of other teams, and I think that's partially maybe due in fact to how Warbirds prepares. So I could see how that fits into RRQ, because having by the way, having Ewok on the desk, like you could peer into his mind a little bit. Freaking smart guy, and he knows what he's talking about, especially when it comes to the players. But maybe he needs a bit of help, like for someone to go through all the VODs, like study up on all the other teams and their tendencies, like how they run their default strats, and then like just compile that into a document. And then Ewok kind of makes use of that and translates that to strats for his team. Like I could see that happening.
Yeah.
Solid.
I really, really agree with Quack. I mean, I think he's a great pickup. I think, like you guys have already mentioned, like, and I to build on what you guys are talking about, that we've seen like actionable evidence that what he has talked about has come to fruition with Team Secret, where they've done well. Like he talked about at the beginning of 2023, right, where he's like, our problem is fundamentals, like we're not doing certain things right, like certain very kind of basic things, and they over the course of that year got much better at that, like much better, to the point where they were almost qualifying for international events. And I think you saw that coming into this year, that structure, that foundation is still there. So clearly he's really good at identifying like problems with a team and fixing them in a efficient, effective manner. So I think that's a really big positive for any team that were to pick him up, but especially for RQ here.
Yep. Especially now that they've picked up one of the strongest players in the region, firepower wise. So now we talk about Kush a little bit. So the first time I've heard about Kush was back in 2021 when Valorant just started rolling out. And I was in a team, and we were at a stage where we just lost our Southeast Asian Challengers qualifiers to Berlin. And the team exploded because Boom took our players, basically. And so we had to rebuild. And the first name that came to mind was actually this dude, Kush. And we picked him up October 2021. And now he has been picked up by RRQ. So that's 3 years since Kush have basically entered the tier 1 of Indonesian Valorant. And throughout this past 3 years, he's actually been one of the most consistent performers, one of the sharpest aimers, and he actually has been one of the favorites for a lot of teams to try and pick up for Tier 1. But I guess one way or another, Kush just wasn't able to move out. And now that he's finally found a home in a Tier 1 team at Pacific, I think this is a chance for him to show us what he's actually got and how he fares against all these other top players. Now, one challenge that I foresee will happen is that because he's been in Tier 2 for so long now, it's probably going to take a bit of time for him to adjust. And this was also an issue that I've seen when I was coaching him. He seems to be very strong fundamentally and mechanically, but mentally, I think he still has some catching up to do. Now, I don't know if in the past 3 years he's developed that a lot or not, but I'm hoping he does have some developments. And if we can see that translate in the first leg of the tournaments next year, I think we'll see a lot of great moments being created from this guy. So I'm actually very excited for RQ.
Nice.
Cool. Oh.
Yeah. I don't know much else to add. I mean,
Yeah, I guess.
from
Yeah.
everything I've heard, he's cracked. Like, you know, some of the limited games that I've seen from him, he looks very, very good.
Yeah. And he came close to the Indonesian qualifiers to Ascension too, you know.
Yeah.
They were so close to winning against Boom. It came down to another diffuse round that just didn't work out. So yeah, he was this close to getting to Ascension, and who knows, maybe if he was the one that played Ascension, maybe they could have qualified as well. So one way or another, I guess it was meant to be for Kush to be at Pacific.
He was on the alter ego team that made like challengers back then, right? Like SEA.
He was after.
Oh,
So the
after.
team that made it, where I was still coaching, was
Yeah.
actually Xipto, Berserks, who's now in
Right.
Boom, and Lmemore.
Right.
Yeah, Kush wasn't there yet. Kush was the player to replace those players after they
I
got
see.
picked up by Boom. Yeah. Okay. I guess
Alright.
there isn't that much else to talk about. But yeah, RQ looking pretty solid, and I think a lot of players and a lot of observers of the scene are actually very excited about RQ's performance. And I just gotta shout out RQ because they've recovered quite a long way since they first started joining partnership. Because if you guys remember at the start, RQ was having a bit of a tough time getting adjusted to this new scenery. But now I feel like they found a place and they found their footing. And now I think they've laid out quite a strong foundation for them to be able to take 2025 seriously and maybe even be a top 4 contender. So yeah, that's RQ. All right, let's move on. We have a couple of teams left to go through. But before we go through this list, we talked about Warbirds and his ex-team, Team Secret. I don't think we've ever heard anything from Team Secret, have we?
No.
No, nothing.
As far as we know,
There was like that weird tweet where they tweeted some country flags,
Oh,
right? Like that
okay.
people were kind of trying to see if that was like whether that was
hint.
just like a hint at the roster or a hint at off-season events. We don't really know. But
Okay.
I feel like they should make a few moves. I think there's some
Well,
places they can improve.
we did
think-
take a stab at him.
the problem right
Yeah,
now
this
with them
one.
is that you just don't know. I don't know. I don't know who to remove, to be honest. Like
Hmm.
everybody there, I think, still has kind of earned their place. And I mean, you look at the 2 new additions they got, Wild Oreo 2G. They were arguably
Pretty
the best
solid.
players in the last
Right.
Yeah.
And they were the newest additions. And then you look at Envy, who arguably should be the guy they're building the team around.
He's
So
good.
I don't know if you remove him. Jeremy stepped up as well. Arguably, maybe you can get another duelist to replace him, but I don't know if they'd want to do that. And then Jesse Vash is there, so I mean, what can you do about it?
Is Jesse gonna retire?
I don't
That's
know.
also
Jesse gonna
true.
retire?
I don't know, dude.
At this point, I don't know if he'll ever retire because, like,
Yeah,
You're playing.
he said it himself. He's-
what
We're
other
gonna have to
leaders-
bring him in on a wheelchair in like 20 years. Like when he's
Exactly.
playing.
The problem that's the
Damn.
problem I think right now with keeping an all Filipino team is that if you're gonna bring somebody to replace Jesse, you're gonna have to get somebody with the same amount of respect as him.
Oh,
and
yeah.
there's
Oof.
very hardly any still left,
That's
right?
tough.
Yeah.
Because if you get
And I,
some nobody from tier 2, I don't know if the boys will honestly respect
Like,
what he
listen.
says. Like,
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Well, he's
I mean,
gonna
I'm
be
not trying to
correct
dunk
as
on
hell.
Jesse. Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm
for
not at all
sure.
trying to dunk on Jesse. I mean, he's just hitting that age where most players end up retiring.
That
you
you
know
would
what I mean?
think
Like,
he would retire. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. I still think Jesse can hang.
Of
I mean, I
course.
don't care if he had that 0-kill game. Like, he bounced right back and had some
Yep.
really
Yeah.
good games.
Yep.
Like outside of that, like he could still frag. He's
Yeah.
a very solid IGL, so I don't think there's
And
a
here's the thing about
need to replace him.
Jesse, right? Like I remember very vividly when we were trying to compete for Southeast Asian Challengers in 2021. We lost to Bren back then, which was led by Jesse Vash,
Oh, yeah.
and
DubsteP.
we failed to qualify to Berlin because of him specifically. And I
Oh.
remember in the pregame speech, I was telling my boys, Berserks, Xphero, Lmemore, hey guys, he's an old dude playing video games. Just go and hunt him. We're gonna go to Berlin. And then the very first map we played against Bren, it was on Haven. He clutched us like 5 times. 1v3, 1v4, 1v2, and hence we failed to qualify to Berlin. So I'm just saying, Jesse Vash has this X Factor plot armor type of shit where every time you think you can win against him, he's just gonna fucking destroy you. And so this alone, I think, qualifies him as one of the most consistent player in the game. Maybe not game to game, but as a whole, he'll
Yeah.
pull through in like the most crucial moments.
Well-
So yeah, we're not gonna see him retire.
He's one of the most underrated players out
Yeah,
there, I think.
for sure.
Yeah.
I feel like the logical option there would be like, if this is his last year, then go coach next year for Team Secret still.
Right.
Be an assistant coach, or maybe even them kind of share the load with Dummy, and then take my boy Papi Chulo, please.
Oh yeah,
Please,
he's
please,
so
Papi Chulo.
good, Papi Chulo, man.
Oh,
Oh boy,
But then you'd have
Chulo
3
the
fucking Vipers on the
smokes.
team.
Yeah.
Papi Chulo can.
I mean,
figure it
DRX
out,
is doing
dude.
it. If
Yeah,
DRX is doing it, probably works. Like
Exactly. Papi Chulo can probably just swap to any agent and he'll
Yeah.
still do good.
Someone
yeah,
so
he's
to-
cracked, dude. He's
he's
cracked.
cracked. Okay. So yeah, well, TS, we're still waiting. Give us some hint as to what you're doing, and
They
we'll
are
be happy
called
about that.
Team Secret.
Shit.
Oh my god.
All right, let's get to DFM now. DFM obviously have decided to go in the route of trying to build the roster around their star player May. So now people are dubbing DFM as Detonation Focus May.
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 That's-
Yes. So yeah, they benched pretty much everyone in the roster, and May is actually pretty free to build this team around himself. So I'm actually curious if the approach here is to tap into his own networks and see who he likes to play with, or if he's gonna take a coach and get the recommendations to pick up players that maybe he hasn't heard of before. But regardless, I think it's still a very tall task for DFM and May himself to build a team that can compete in Pacific 2025. It's just when you've been I'm sorry to say this, but when you've been at the bottom of the barrel for so long, climbing back up is not easy by any means.
And especially
hate
if the go ahead.
No hate, but I'm surprised they still hold on to C's at this point. They haven't announced his
Not yet.
removal yet. So
There's another PUBG player still clinging to life.
really.
Yeah. He played PUBG for DFM. Yeah.
Oh, that explains it.
I
Maybe
see.
maybe he's
Bro.
just one of them like loyal, players to the org.
He's.
Kinda
I
like-
thought honestly, I think he's not a fragger, but he's a solid like smokes player, which I don't know if is good enough to cut it in modern Valorant, but
Well, let's be
I-
honest, it's not enough. But
yeah.
But
So he's not that great of a fragger. That's what kills him. Like I think he's a solid util usage player. Like, and he's very smart, but I don't think I don't know if he's got the chops. And I love C's. Very nice guy, but
It might be okay now, but just
Recessive.
when I'm looking at like other hero shooters back in the day, like like at Overwatch, Rainbow Six, anything else. At the start, the first 4 years, you have a lot of specialists happen, right? Like maybe this guy is about only this type of role and stuff. But then as the game gets older, you see a lot of teams kind of remove very utility heavy players and then just put in fraggers and then teach them how to play utility in the end. And that's happened with many tactical shooters I've seen in the past, even in CS, where there's not as
Mechanical
much
skills
utility, just deep amounts of utility. We see that happen all the time. Like remove the utility players, get some fraggers, then teach them how to play utility.
Yeah, it's just about balancing which one's easier to teach, right? Like, and which one's easier to get a hold of.
Yeah.
Throughout the process, and I think fragging is in a shooting game the most solid
Priority number
foundation
one.
you can have.
Prospect A.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
I don't know what they're going to do, though. I mean, I think they're in a
Same.
really tough spot. There isn't a tremendous amount of talent that's bubbling up in the tier 2 Japanese scene. And from what, the rumors are, is that, the Shota sweepstakes, who's like hands down the best player out there probably, is probably going to ZETA. So I don't, what team are you going to pull from? Are you going to pull some of those riddle players? I mean, Yatsuka was crazy good at Ascension.
Yatsuka's good.
I think he's like my number one priority, if you could find it. Kaide as well was really good. Ace has a lot of like when I talk to people in the Japanese scene, like Ace is often seen as kind of like that next Shota, like where he's not quite there yet, but all the indicators are that he has the potential to be kind of like a next level player. And he played really, again, another one of those players that played really well at Ascension. So we'll see.
Isn't Kaide the one who's not eligible yet though?
I
Like
can't remember.
age-wise?
Too young.
Actually,
like age wise, wasn't he?
what is 15?
I'm not too sure.
I know there was a player from.
Was it
RO
Ace
that we were
or was
talking about
it
last
maybe
episode.
it was? Oh, maybe it was Ace.
What's his
I
age?
can't remember now. I don't know.
It says 17, so that should be eligible.
Probably by mid,
Probably another
next
one
year
then.
ish. Yeah, January. Yeah. So Kaide would be eligible next year. Yeah.
How about the Fennel
think.
boys then? Maybe they could farm from them.
Yeah.
Well, that's what's so from what I've heard in the rumor mill, like, and this is just public stuff like that I've just read on Twitter and stuff, is that the Fennel boys are mostly going to ZETA. So that's kind of like CLZ, XDL.
Okay.
Is like what the current rumors are. So you keep Dep Sugar Zero and you bring in 3 of the Fennel players, and
I guess that's
CLZ is your
that's the rut
ideal.
DFM are in right now, right? Like if you're taking Japanese players, I'd assume most of them would rather go to ZETA than to your org.
Yeah.
Well, you'd be surprised in a way. Not that you're in Valorant, you're correct, but like DFM is actually the bigger org, right?
Really?
Yeah.
Outside.
So DFM is the biggest esports org in Japan.
I know they have a PUBG team.
They used to. They don't anymore. But they have like more sponsors than anybody else. Like in terms of like
for sure.
size of the org, they are actually the biggest.
Really?
Okay.
That's interesting.
Still, tough spot for DFM and me.
Yep.
Very curious to see what they're doing. I guess in connection to that, we have talked about ZETA Division. They have picked up, or at least are about to pick up, some of the boys from Fennel to
That's
complete
the
their
word.
roster. We don't know for sure just yet, but we will find out soon enough, I hope, because they will be playing in some of the off-season tournaments, I believe. There was this one that's a mix of Japanese and Korean, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, so this one, what is this, home ground?
Yeah, Red Bull.
Yeah, it is Red Bull.
It's the
Homeground, so-
qualifier. Yeah.
So we will be seeing the first iteration of their revamp there. So yeah, we've been talking a lot, guys. I think we gotta wrap it up very soon. So let's go a bit faster on these last few teams.
Yep.
Global Esports. How do you want to talk about this one? Hey, why are you shaking your head, Quack? You shook your head. You gotta talk first.
Yep.
Yeah, they released like so many of obviously the coaches. So now they basically have to build up the whole team from scratch, don't they? Lightning Fast is gone, Bankai's gone, just the whole team. Like everything from ground up. Like, how do
I
you?
don't know if they're gone, but they did announce
I think they're
unrestricted free agency.
restricted free
Oh, yeah.
agents.
Yeah.
And I think Russ today just said he's a full-on free agent.
Oh,
So-
okay.
So
Oh,
Russ is gone.
right.
But I mean, I think they're just rebuilding the whole thing. I think they're just starting from scratch. Is my guess.
Damn.
Which is
Maybe
like,
they keep one player. I'd keep Lightning Fast if I'm keeping anybody. I think he's really solid, but
Yep.
yeah. But
and
otherwise,
they're
you
just
know,
they're trying out everybody. Is what I'm hearing. Like just everybody under the sun. Like they're just going
How about this?
trying. Yeah.
Do you guys think they keep a South Asian player in the roster?
that's what I'm kind of wondering about, right? Because you would maybe kind of want that. Otherwise, there is
least
no
one,
South
right?
Asian. Yes, there's no South Asian representative in the partnership league in Pacific.
Look,
So it's a
what
little
I'm-
bit odd.
I mean,
Yeah,
if they don't
well-
keep Lightning Fast, I don't see it happening. But
Yeah, I don't know who else to keep, to be honest.
Unless
It's
they
like
get somebody
Cast
from
a big
Revenant.
net. Yeah, maybe.
Maybe.
but like the best players on Revenant were
Curiosity coming? I don't know. But then
We're-
you got
you know,
the
Dust
Kazakh
Nine
players.
and-
Yes,
yeah.
Sultan. Or
But they don't
I-
count as South Asian, though. So and they're gonna count as
Exactly.
imports, which is
Exactly.
gonna complicate things further. And yeah, I would hate to be in GE's position, to be honest, because have you seen the progress in the past 2 years? Unfortunately, the reception have been kind of
lukewarm.
lukewarm is not even the right word. It's a little worse than lukewarm. The fans have been pretty passionate about it.
Okay,
and-
well, the fans are like all over the place sometimes.
See, this is the thing, right?
That's
Like,
the thing.
it's so awkward to be in GE's position. So I sympathize with them. Like
Yes.
if they go with a South Asian representative, they're kind of balancing that whether we can win with the roster or not. And whatever they do, the fans are gonna still like come at them and
Yep. No
go for
matter
the
what.
next, no matter what. So it is a very tough position, and I think personally, whatever the decision is, the objective should be now to just make sure they're a competitive team next year,
Hmm.
whether that involves a South Asian rep or not. And once they can prove that they are a competitive team, then they can do whatever they want. But at this point, I think it's that should be their number one priority.
Massive
Well,
question
yeah.
marks there.
Obviously,
Massive.
like just do you go for the dub or do you go for, I guess,
The
fan
fan
support
service?
in general? Yeah, because like if you
No,
think about it,
you go for the
even
dub.
teams that don't go for, even teams that don't win, if as long as they got like a very sellable team, right, a very marketable team, a very supported team by the fans, they still live on. The org lives on, at least.
It's the business, yeah, and they gotta.
No, but this is
Exactly.
why I think GE is a unique case because if they don't win, they're still getting shit on by the fans, unfortunately, right now. So
What's gonna happen either way, you know?
that's true. Okay, but yeah, I would go
Yeah.
for the W.
I
think.
go for the W. Yeah.
Maybe
I think
have
that's
a
better.
South Asian coach, as they do now. You know,
Yeah.
Maybe.
I think it's a good idea.
Okay. Well, we haven't really heard so much about them, like officially at least. So
Yeah.
we're gonna have to wait still. Next up, we did hear from an extension of a contract for the Desk Breaker. So desks beware. Alex is returning to.
Surprise!
So
we need to get those desks that they use in like professional wrestling that just like smash.
Oh, right.
Like
that would be such a hassle because every
we need to
3
have one
rounds
for him. Yeah.
every 3 rounds you're gonna have to swap desks and
Yeah,
tech pause galore. But yeah, happy to see that Alex have extended his contract, and I've seen some comments from some of the social channels where we posted this, and some of them are saying, yeah, honestly, who would be willing to coach a team like PaperX other than Alex himself? Like, I can sympathize with that. It is tough on paper to coach people like PaperX
paper.
players.
Because he's more than just a coach for them. He's like also. Like,
He's a big bro. He's a
man.
dad. He's like a mentor.
Mhm.
Like he's everything. And I
Everything.
think at this
Yeah.
point, it's kind of like reached a point where it is harder to get someone else to coach them, just purely from the fact of the familiarity and chemistry that's been built up.
I might even go
Exactly.
so far as to say, like, if some of those players, well, I mean, some of them are just so talented that they could go anywhere, but if the whole core together went somewhere else or they all split up, it
Yeah.
just wouldn't have the same
No,
feeling,
no, no,
same
no.
Not at
impact.
For
all.
sure.
Not at all.
For sure.
These guys got to stick together.
Yeah.
Also, just his familiarity with the vets on that team. Like he's been playing
Yeah,
with
yeah,
Aaron,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Mind Freak for a while. Devi. Whenever they pull in new people, like they pulled in, something, and
Yeah.
he sees the culture here. He sees how they talk to each other. He
Mm.
realizes, okay, it's not hostile. They're being serious, but it's not hostile, and
Yeah.
it's a real big thing to know that not only did they kind of been together for a while, they've known each other even before Valorant. Some of these guys, so
Yeah.
it's huge. Even the management team, right? It's the same exact team. They were
Yeah.
literally like, let's take our CS team, let's bring him to Valorant, and let's see where
Correct.
we go from that point on. So it's hard. There's nobody. I think whoever, if they ever did take him out and replace him with another coach, whoever's stepping into those shoes, man, has the
Oof.
biggest shoes to fill in the world, bar none.
Straight up.
Tough shit.
Absolutely.
Yeah. But yeah, about the players, nothing official have been expressed. So gonna have to wait. Obviously, I
this?
can't say much.
If you guys were the GM, would you make a change after last year, or would you stick with the team?
If it was me,
Yeah.
I'd probably make some slight changes. Yeah. If I'm being brutally honest, I'd probably consider moving Jing, but he's also kind of a package deal with Forsaken, it seems like. So I don't know. I mean, just from like if in a vacuum without any like personal relationships or any of that other knowledge, I'd probably consider Jing, and I'd be a little bit, my eyebrows are raised with something, in that I think he's a solid player, but he kind of like, because he's so good with the op, it kind of forces weird stuff when you put him on other roles,
Gecko.
like when he's playing the
Gecko.
Gecko. Yeah. So my eyebrows are raised there. However, none of this is in a vacuum. It's all in a sealed container. So it's tough for me to make this like those kind of decisions, because I do see that the players generally gel pretty well and they've been together for so long. I don't like breaking up teams. I mean, we just talked to Gary with Boom, how kind of one of the things that made them so successful was their kind of willingness to kind of stick with the core ideas of things and build that over time. And I think that's something that has benefited PaperX immensely. So for me, I have a hard time really messing with it too much.
Yeah.
They are the longest standing core still to this day. Forsaken,
Yep.
Devi, Mind Freak from the start of the
Since
VCT.
day one, basically. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a difficult call to make. How about the PaperX guy himself, Sleepy?
Can you?
Yeah, I can't say shit here, man. I'm risking a lot by being here already. But all I'm gonna say is I echo with what Clint was saying about how it is a tough spot to change what's already been around for so long. And as you said, it's not a vacuum. It's not independent of a lot of these other personal factors. And yeah, also what Quack said, which is if we change the roster or if we remove the players, I think it's not just the game that's going to change. It's like the whole dynamic of the team is going to change. And I think it takes much more time to develop that, or in this case, redevelop that and rediscover the identity of this new core. So I don't know if that's the right move to go for at this stage. Especially knowing that sure, this year hasn't been the best for us, but dude, we qualified to all the internationals still. And we didn't bomb out.
You got third at Madrid. I mean,
yes, we did by miracle of I don't know how, but honestly, we did. But yeah, so like I said, I think right now it's looking like it's pretty quiet over at the PaperX camp. I know more than the normal people, but I wouldn't be able to say anything, unfortunately. So
all good.
all good.
Moving on.
But yeah, let's move
Fine.
on. Okay, last two teams. In Pacific, we have Talon as well, which has been pretty quiet as well. I don't
They
think
do have
they
some
just
moves announced.
yeah,
no
some
patty
movements.
pan, no boy.
No
No
Patty
Pet
Fan,
the Pet, no
boy.
boy. Boy announced Boy was a coach, right? In Talon?
Assistant
I
coach,
thought so.
I think he was, and then he announced that he's gonna be a player, right?
Did he?
That's what
think
he
he did.
said.
Yeah, that's what he said in
that's
his
the
tweet.
That's how I read that tweet. Yeah.
Yeah,
I have no idea. I have no idea what they're doing. I haven't heard anything. Like literally, I haven't heard
nothing.
any
about Talon.
rumors.
Yeah,
Literally nothing.
Possibly sticking together, maybe.
I
Like,
guess.
maybe. Yeah,
Ross seems to really like working with Governor and Band, so
yeah.
I don't-
I will say,
I don't think they're
as
gonna let go of those two. To be honest.
no, I think they're in a tricky spot because they played well enough, right, to qualify for champions. You know, they kind of figured things out at the end of the year. Like
Yeah.
the trajectory is up, but I don't know. I don't know if it's sustainable. I don't know if kind of their kind of wacky, quote unquote wacky. I don't think that's a fair way to represent it, but you know, kind of their unorthodox, let's put it that way, approach to the game. Whether that's sustainable or not. But I will say, like, as much, you know, and you could Frost is a very big personality. That it goes without saying. He, you know, you've seen it on other shows and in our interviews with him on the desk during Pacific and stuff. But the players do, as far as I can tell, respect him and do kind of vibe with whatever he's dishing out. So if you know if it works, it works. Who cares?
Okay.
I see what Joandy's kind of doing though. I mean, like, our producer, he's putting up the bleed graphics right now. So it's like you want to think about, okay, Scary's now a free agent.
Aha.
Some of the other players as well. Do you want to pick them up? Do you want to pick them up for Talon or any other?
That's actually fair. That's actually very
Actually
fair.
true. Dude, Scary
Yeah.
would slap on that team, I think.
Oh, for
You
sure,
think?
man. I think so.
Yeah,
I
I
know.
agreed.
I know.
Yeah, going back to his roots, why not, right? Like, Thai speaking team mostly with some familiar
I guess
faces.
it's more English now.
Potential.
More English now for sure, especially with
Yeah.
Cruz being like an Americanized Thai boy.
Yeah.
But I feel like just having a Thai person present, which Scary doesn't have when he was in Bleed, I think that helps always, like especially for young players, right? So yeah, I would think that if Scary comes back to Thailand, play for Talon, I think it'd be a pretty sick addition. But yeah, nothing else we've heard from Talon, is there?
Not that I know of.
Yeah, not much.
Rug.
Okay then.
Next.
Shall we address the elephant in the room?
What?
What?
What would it be? The best for last?
The best for Well, I mean, our producer is pulling up every single thing that he could about what happened last week. But yeah, there you go. Bleed Esports, unfortunately, have been removed from VCT Pacific starting next year, and as a result, of course, as what we've discussed at the start of this podcast, BOOM Esports have been picked to replace them. And Bleed Esports, there isn't really that much to talk about aside from the fact that they are removed officially, and the statement have said that they are terminated due to a failure to comply with critical reporting requirements and other key obligations under the team participation agreement, which is another way of saying maybe they just didn't fulfill their end of the bargain in their partnership to Riot Games as part of the partnership with VCT Pacific.
I'm just gonna read out to you guys watching what our group chat was like when it was announced that Bleed were
Oh
removed.
yeah.
Okay.
And I quote verbatim: "Holy crap! Holy shit! Holy fuck! Crazy shit! What the fuck?"
I think that's what everyone in the whole Valorant community collectively.
That's just everyone, yeah. That's literally the whole world,
Every
man.
group chat that I ever had was like
Yeah.
just the same thing.
Same. Or just different variations because of different languages.
Oh,
But
yeah,
it's
that too.
essentially the same thing.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
That's
I think
basically what I said.
Bleed's like official statement regarding the whole matter is quite professional as well. So that's kind of a little bit telling as to like how the situation might have played out. Like something must have happened.
It kind of felt like they just owned up to it. Like it
Yeah,
kind of
yeah,
just
yeah.
felt like they're like,
To be
yeah,
honest, that's what it
you
felt
know.
like. They're not trying to fight for it. Like
No.
Like
if,
who knows
if we
what really
if
happened.
we go
but-
back to some similar event that happened with another team in another region that got removed or a denied entry, they were still trying to fight for it, if I recall correctly. Like they were trying to defend themselves and I don't know, maybe try to dispute some of the claims that the official statement from Valorant came and said. But this one didn't feel like that
Yeah.
at all.
I just feel bad for the players, bro.
For
Players,
sure,
the
man.
coach,
It's
yeah.
okay.
Life
It's
changing.
especially awkward for us Indonesians because we were just ready to party and celebrate because holy
Yeah.
shit, boom.
Yeah.
It's part of Pacific next year. And so we kind of had to just tweet out and share stories on Instagram and shit saying, yay, we got Boom now. But
You deserve to, you know. to
Yeah,
share
yeah.
No
your thoughts.
malice. Yeah.
but at the same time, like, oh my God, I can't imagine what the players are going through at Bleed or X Bleed. Because from what we've heard, it was pretty sudden, the news, especially for the players. And we can actually see, like, from some of the tweets, especially from Lagia, for example, like, he was as surprised as a lot of us. And he's part of the team. So that's saying
Yeah.
something.
They mentioned, or right there in the tweet, like they all found out 30 minutes before the announcement. Same day, same hour. It's crazy, bro.
Which
At
kind
least
of.
they didn't find out on Twitter, right? At
Oh,
least
yes.
they didn't find out
Well,
on Twitter.
Oh, that would. Oh, dude. But that tracks with what Gary was sharing with us, right? He was also just informed, like a few hours before, the announcement was to go up. So I guess it was kind of in a similar time frame. Still doesn't mean it doesn't suck. So
Absolutely.
yeah,
I would be crushed
Unfortunate.
by that.
oh, dude.
It's horrible. There's no other way to put it. I mean, to work so hard to get to where you're at, you know, to put in all that time and effort and just things that are completely outside of your control.
Yeah.
It's brutal. I mean, that's life, but it still doesn't make it any better.
Juandi
Doesn't make it
pulling
any
up
easier.
yay. Juandi pulling up yay right here.
They're
Well,
Juandi. Dirty, dirty man.
I mean, made it easier for EA, I guess. Although this was not
All right.
shocking to anybody that he was going to be unrestricted free agent.
Did Scary say anything? Oh, here.
Yeah.
He did. He just said he's looking for a team. So
LFG.
Looking for a new team. Okay.
I mean, they got some great players on that team. You know, I
Yes.
Yeah,
doubt
dude.
that a few of them are going to find a home.
For sure.
I mean, scary.
Carry on.
If he doesn't find a team, people are trolling. Like he's just too good.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm worried about Crazy Guy's stock though, just because there was a lot of conversation around his name throughout the entire year, like
Yeah,
involving
yeah.
against Ye and all. So
Yeah,
he's such a
and
great
that
player.
awkward
Yeah.
in and out,
I just
in and out situation.
yeah, I just don't know how his stock is looking coming into the next year. I wouldn't be surprised if he struggles to find a tier 1 team.
And what
Unfortunately.
really sucks is he's a Vietnamese player, and he's the only
Yeah.
one we have.
The only
Yeah.
one.
in tier
dude.
1.
Damn.
And that I really liked having, you know, that kind of
Variety.
entire representation. You know,
Yeah.
it was really
Like
cool. to have
Devi,
that.
right? Like imagine
Yeah.
if Devi is
that,
not
yeah.
around anymore. Like
Uh,
that would be devastating. But having him around is like kind of that. I don't know. It's very heroic in a sense. Not trying to toot our own horns here, but it does feel like that sometimes. Like, damn, he is
Oh, yeah,
the
totally.
one dude
Here's
from a
familiar.
whole ass country.
Kind of like
Yeah.
lightning fast, right? From,
Yeah.
Yeah,
Same.
yeah.
Yeah.
Actually,
Exactly. Okay. Well,
I think that
All right.
covers it.
condolences to the players, and staff and anyone affected by the news. And once again, congratulations to Boom for joining us here at VCT Pacific. Coolios. Okay.
It just
So-
makes me wonder if my bleed jersey can sell higher or lower now that that's happened.
Yeah, I have one too. That's a good point.
Does the
And
stock
people
go
were
up?
saying, yeah, people were also talking about the
If-
Bleed bundle. Right?
If
Yeah.
Ye signs my jersey, does the price go up or down?
Oh, damn. That's a good
I
question.
would argue up.
I would hope so. I think it's worth. He was so
remember-
good.
Like in Pacific, there were like these little kids that were there just because Ye was playing.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, there were. Yes.
Yeah.
Well deserved. I mean, honestly,
Damn.
it's as shaky as last year was. Like before that, Ye was
Oh,
so good
dude,
at this
he
game, it
was
didn't make
the
sense.
GOAT.
The man.
Yeah.
And then the nerf
Yeah.
chamber.
I really wanted it to work out for him, like it bleed. I really
Yeah.
did. Like because it would have been such a cool story. for our region and for the whole thing. I really wanted that to work. But
Yeah, split one. I think they were in many people's like top half predictions, right? At least top 5, just because of how they dominated most. I guess we were proven wrong.
well, I wasn't expecting it, but I was hoping for it. Would be the way to put it.
Maybe it was the SEA copium, because everybody else I talked to from SEA was like, "Yeah, bleed, you're gonna be top 5 for sure."
They should be on paper, right? You
Dude,
look
on
at that
paper,
team and
they
you're
look
like,
so good. Yeah.
like stacked. Yeah.
You would be crazy if you go against that sentiment, right? Like at the
Yeah, yeah.
start. Now,
Yeah,
obviously, with hindsight, yeah.
I
Okay,
also
guys.
realized.
Yeah, sorry.
Our predictions last time we had an episode was
Oh, boy.
Ascension, right? Quack, you were so
Oh.
close to being right.
Oh, right.
You predicted Boom. Sleepy was also kind of
Did
half predicting Boom, so you
I
guys
I had to.
Super close.
I was still like riding the full sense train, even though I just had
Same.
this sinking
Me too.
feeling.
Me too.
Yeah, I was
Same.
Like,
I think we were all like Simpriza safe answer, right? And they ended
Yes.
up being
Yeah,
the safe
correct.
answer.
I just
But-
don't want to pick them just because I think they're gonna win. Like that
Yeah.
seems.
And Full Sense looks so good at the start too, man. They just
Yes.
crumbled at the end.
What happened there? Actually, we haven't talked about that.
No, we haven't.
It's the full
Yeah,
sense
you're
thing.
right.
Just real quick. What happened there?
They ran out of steam.
Honestly, yeah, ran out of steam, and at the same time, Sinprisa just found their groove. Like,
Yeah.
they literally
Bad
just got
matchup.
so used to whatever's happening around the venue and the setting, and they just found that they just kicked it to gear. SPG.
It felt like Full Sense ran out of creativity as well. It felt like whether that's exhaustion or I don't know what, but it just felt like to me they got really stale as the event went on.
There's a lot of
espe-
Sushi Boys. Sushi Boys was the one who was like top performing for a lot of them.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah, but when it comes to SPG, nobody was just shooting, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dude, it's a 13-0, man. How do you get a 13-0? It's very rare in a game of Valorant.
Semifinals.
And for a
yeah.
team that's mostly based or known for the shooting over
Yeah.
the Valoranting, that's a big problem.
Bro.
Because Danby, it's all Danby's fault.
They out full sense.
Yeah.
But this game in
I mean-
particular on Haven, Ivy was just
Yeah, that's shocking.
what
That's
the
shocking.
hell?
That to me-
21-5.
Just screams that something else is happening behind the
Yeah,
scenes. That
yeah.
something fell apart.
That's
Yeah,
good.
yeah. Because they're too good. They're too good to lose 13-0 to any
Yeah.
team.
Heartbreaking.
All right.
All right.
Sag.
Cool. Sag. All right. I know we haven't touched upon China at all today.
Okay.
I think it's just because of the sheer amount of stuff that's happening within this region in Pacific. So we'll make up for it in the future. We'll definitely try and get someone who is more tuned to the scene to talk more about the scene and have a dedicated section for that. But
Maybe next episode.
there's one piece of news here,
Ah.
and it comes from BLG.
Yeah.
Where we have there is this farewell note with one of them being Flexen. But I'm just gonna be honest with you, I do not follow too closely what's happening in the scene, but yeah, this season just reading off the news here from Mr. YAP2ASIA himself, Flexen parted ways with Bilibili Gaming. Flexen dropped between 3 different VCT CN teams: Trace at kickoff, Talon stage 1, BLG in stage 2. Rumors have been circulating in China that Flexen had trials with Wolves, DRG, JDG, and XLG, which is pretty much almost all the teams in China. He's
That
tasting
aren't the
them
ones that
all.
he was on last year.
All right. Well,
Living up to his name, I guess.
yeah, Flexen.
Flexen.
Okay. So I don't know if that's a lot of news for us to be covering. But yeah, let's I think save this conversation for another time. We've been talking for way too much, I think.
Yeah,
today.
yeah.
How
We
long
went.
have we
We
been
went.
on?
Oh, we went to
We went on
overtime
for
today.
3 hours, dude.
Yeah.
Damn.
Lots of y'all
time and
to
a half.
hear about.
We're
Lots
living
of
up to
yap.
our name. Lots of yap. This is YAP2ASIA.
A bit of cap.
Okay. So yeah, guys, there we have it. We talked about Ascension. We talked with Gary as well from BOOM Esports about his experience, finding out that he's actually been promoted instead of having to prepare for Split 3. We've also talked about game changers very briefly. Thank you, Quack, for covering that as well. And lastly, we talked about some of the rumors and confirmed movements in the region when it comes to the VCT Pacific teams. And I think this is just the beginning. We are only into the first or second week of October now, and the offseason will still go on all the way till the season starts. So expect more updates, expect more moves, and we will try our best to bring it up and bring it to you. So that's been it. I think you've heard enough from us. I don't know if anyone's still here even at this tail end of the episode. But hey, we've been Sleepy, blackenBlue, him, Quack, and Paperthin, and Juandi. That is YAP2ASIA. We will see you guys again very soon. Take care.